Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Banter.
We have our own theme song.
Yeah, we do actually. It's pretty wicked. Good job. Good find an Artlist.
Licensed.
Buy Artlist.io.
Sponsor us.
Yes, please sponsor us. We need money. So we're as you can notice, we're not in our lovely cave. We're in the beautiful County Wicklow.
Whoop, whoop. Yeah. We're remote podcasting today.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
For those audio listeners, we're not in the same place that we are. we're on a remote podcast.
But yeah, so as per usual, well, we're recording this in advance as we always do, so just to give you a heads up, so in case you're like, hey, you didn't mention this or that, we're recording this on the 29th of October 2017, so we're 2 days away from Halloween.
Horror filmmakers' either nightmare or favourite time of the year.
I always get that, and I'm always like, but the thing for horror filmmakers is that every day is Halloween.
True.
It's true that it's a big celebration, but it's also like, oh, I'm going to watch so many horror films. I'm like, but that's my average life.
Every Thursday.
It's not, there's no excuse to watch a bunch of horror films. But yeah, so we got our couple of shout outs to run through. First one, as per always, goes to our good friend Nick Vince.
Yep. Nick's short film, Your Appraisal, was shown at the Richard Harris Film Festival this weekend.
It was his
in Limerick,
world premiere.
and it was his world premiere, so that's pretty bitchin'. And I know he's another screening coming up, but I don't know.
Unrestricted View.
Yes.
Where one of our mystery guests, also has a film screening.
Mystery guest.
And we'll talk about that.
It's not in the title or anything.
Shh, don't look at the title. Just close your eyes, hit the button, and press play. So yeah, huge congratulations to Nick and all the cast and crew, which includes me and Barry. But yeah, I'm sure that film's going to do really well on the festival circuit. Secondly, I put a note out on Facebook about this the other day, and everyone's just going to be like, how much money did Shudder pay you? The answer is none, so this is a genuine shout out. Shudder, which is a horror streaming service, it's basically Netflix but for all the good shit if you're a horror fan, so you don't have to go looking in the horror genre section, and then if Netflix have muddled up all the genres into, you're like, this isn't even really a good horror section. Shudder is all the good stuff condensed in one place. But they have a thing called The Core, which just started. It's done by Mickey Keating, who's done some really cool horror movies. His most recent one premiered at Fright Fest this year, Psychopaths. And the first episode was a Halloween episode. It featured Adam Green and Daniel Harris, and it went into like a lot of detail about the Halloween movies, which as a gigantic Halloween fan, there was stuff in it that I didn't know, so I was like, holy crap, this is pretty cool. And the amount of detail that went about the masks and everything, but it's a show, so it's going to be a weekly thing, and getting other guests on, like I know the Soska sisters.
Is it one of those things that like Netflix comes out as a whole season at a time, or is it like one
No,
of those
it's drip fed out.
Okay, cool.
And I know that, as I say, they've got the Soska sisters lined up for an episode where I think they may potentially be talking about Rabid, which is the new
that'd be cool.
feature film they're working on. I think it might be a Cronenberg episode, possibly, or a body horror episode. I don't know that. By the time this podcast airs, it's probably already out, but so if I was wrong...
You guys can figure out whether or not Paddy knows what he's talking about, or...
Yeah, I'm just fucking bullshit. Quick one though as well is that you can get a free... Like, Shudder is basically free month trial, so look, just try it out. And if you don't like it, you don't have to subscribe to it. It's very simple. I tried it, and now I subscribe to it. But you might not, and that's fine.
Man, that was like a sponsorship. That was like an ad read. I'm impressed.
There's not even any copy for that. And the last little shout out before we get on to our own two shout outs is for We Are Many, is a feature anthology from Hex Media, which we're involved with in a multitude of ways.
Twice over.
Yeah, with Nicholas Vince for his film Necessary Evils, and also for our own, which also stars one of our mystery guests. We'll be talking a bit about that. And then the other one stars our other mystery guests. So I guess there is a theme to this podcast. Yeah. It's the For We Are Many podcast.
Yay. Many badgers.
But yeah, For We Are Many is nearly there. And then I'm not sure what Hex's specific plans are, but I know that the aim is to get it on the festival circuit next year. So that's going to be really cool. And they've some really amazing plans that I'm not allowed to talk about for the wraparound segment.
Oh, yeah, I remember now.
Dear God. The goose is going crazy out there. He's like, tell me, who's doing the wraparound segment, Murphy?
We can't reveal anything. Although, by the time this podcast comes out,
it could be out.
It could be announced.
Fingers crossed. it's a total nerdgasm for me. So, then the very last, very quickly, the Three Don'ts is now available at the3don'ts.com.
Limited edition DVDs and Blu-rays, only 100 copies, and there is actually not many left. So
to put it,
if there's any left in 5 weeks when this comes out,
they're selling quite fast. And the thing is, as soon as they start to get delivered to people, I imagine they'll sell even faster. Hopefully, because people will be like, "Oh, you got to check this out." Or someone. No, I'm not going to say that. Retribution is also available at realhouse.com.
and Amazon Video Direct.
And Amazon Video Direct. And it's $4.99 wherever you are to buy it, or $1.99 to rent it. So if you want to watch 13 minutes of a guy driving around a motorbike killing people, that's a really good safe bet.
Yeah.
True. That's specifically what you're looking for.
We got the film for you.
And then last shout out thing for us is just, if you're watching this, you're watching it before anybody else because you're a patron. Well, like, as in, if you're watching it first, you're a patron. And we love you more than everybody else.
Yes.
The Patreon means a huge amount to us. We've had so much generosity and so much amazing, the people that have supported our Patreon have been hugely amazing. And we've had a bit of a lull on content this last week, but that's because we've been super busy with stuff. But don't worry, that just means that there's going to be a cavalcade of content in the next week or two. So never get worried that, Badgers aren't posting a lot. Don't worry, it'll be repaid.
Plenty of exclusive behind the scenes stills and videos. Stuff that we probably won't put out publicly on Facebook will only be available on Patreon.
A good example is the Savior BTS
my God,
teaser.
I love that. Aaron did such a great job.
Aaron did an incredible job on that, and that is only available on the Patreon. And it's so much fun.
Yeah.
Guys, it's as little as, you don't even have to put the minimum amount of the $3. If you're like, well, I can really only spare $1, you're not going to get as many exclusives. But we're still going to make sure you get some content. But for $3, you get a lot of goodies. For $7, you get a lot more. For $15, you're golden. And then for $30, you are a Badger. You are directly involved with everything we do.
I think Paddy has explicitly stated he'll adopt you for 30 quid a month.
That's how I ended up with Evan. He's not my son. And that's all our plugging, as we always do. It's always a very important part. So I'll let you introduce your guest.
So to my right, we have actor extraordinaire, beautiful human being, and I'd throw it out there as possibly one of my best friends, Mr. Fiach Kunz.
Pass. Thank you.
You forgot to say he was fucking sexy.
The camera went to him like everybody knows.
With the fucking scraggly beard.
The light just emanated from. You're like,
yeah. It's like that glorious moment of like, oh.
But you see, I think you're clever. You've been, when I met you, everyone was like, he looks like Captain America, or he looks like Chris Evans. And now for the new Avengers movie, he's grown a beard out.
Yeah, that's right.
We've been in correspondence. I didn't want to say anything, and I probably shouldn't be, but if there's anything else to announce it, it's
he was like, look, just to give you a heads up, the beard is coming. And so I'm going to introduce the guest to my left, which is another incredibly talented.
Oh, you have to say that now.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I could say you were useless if I wanted. Trust me.
You should have heard the way he introduced Tubbs.
Yeah, exactly.
so hard.
Let me introduce her for fuck's sake. The absolutely incredibly talented and incredibly wonderful human being, and person that I'm very glad that I've gotten to know in the last 6 months, and I'm glad took a gamble on being in a crazy weird film that I was doing. Miss Jessica Messenger.
Thank you.
So going back to the Tubbs introduction.
The people have now had the exact same reaction on camera as well. It's like gone to Chester, like, oh!
So when we introduced Tubbs, it was like, I said Tubbs was a multifunctional badger because he has so many roles.
I said barely.
And Paddy goes, "This is a barely functioning human being." It's like multifunctional badger, barely functional human being. Mr. Stephen Tubbs.
We love you, Tubbs. But you don't subscribe to the Patreon, so we don't.
You won't see this for fun.
You won't see this. Yeah,
ever,
for even longer. So guys, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Don't worry, I didn't have too far to go.
So to give a little bit more context into our Badger location today, we're actually at Fiach's.
Can't really reveal locations because stalkers like.
I'm not going to say
that's
where
true,
it was.
it's a
Look
fair
at this
point.
Wicklow.
It's a fair point.
We're on the moon.
We're somewhere south of Belfast.
That's everywhere in Ireland. I like that.
Yeah. On a remote
That's
location.
very witty.
I don't lie. I'm just mysterious about my directions.
Very witty.
So I can imagine getting directions. They're like looking for like Wexford or whatever, and it's like you just go south from Belfast. Walks away. That would be an incredibly that would be such an incredibly fair direction.
And you're not being a dick to anyone.
You're not, because it is
not
like
lying.
if you follow the coast south from Belfast, you get to Wexford.
There's a chance you'll eventually find the place you're looking for. Eventually.
France. You just keep going south, you'll hit France.
You will eventually.
If you hit France, you're gone too far.
But yeah, we were here this weekend with Jess and Fiach working on a movie
That we talked about last week.
which we talked about last week with the writer of the book last week. So if you haven't seen that one or heard it, go back and check that podcast out as well. But don't watch this first and then go check it out. Don't stop now. What are you doing? But yeah, we were shooting that yesterday for 12
It's a long
good hours.
day.
Which is good going. I was, it
8
wasn't-
pages in 12 hours. I'm pretty dang.
Yeah, no, it's not
impressed.
bad. Like, I thought it was going to run into the 2 days. I don't know why, but
And I was very adamant about stopping within 12 hours because I know that there's this big culture within filmmaking of like, oh, we'll just go till we get it and we'll just
Yeah.
keep going and we'll
Yeah.
just.
We'll hit that 16-hour day.
We've had.
Plenty.
yeah. Well, especially with the guys coming up from Limerick and everything as well, it wouldn't have been safe to
Yeah,
ask them to go
to
over
drive
that.
home.
Having
Yeah.
got up at
super
6
late
stuff
and
as
everything.
well.
Yeah, it was. But I what I'm amazed by, as I say, is I mean, genuine thinking about that. It's like it's 8 solid pages dialogue in 12 hours is really good. Like,
Yeah.
that's like TV going. Like,
Yeah.
TV show next.
oh
That's-
yes, I want to do a
Yes.
multi-camera sitcom
Okay. I'm game.
where me and you play the lead characters in it.
Oh, I don't know if I'm so game about that. Other than the podcast, I was built for behind a camera.
I disagree. You're a lovely
I've
person.
seen you pop up in a few little cameos.
His one in the don'ts is my favorite.
Yeah,
thing
it's
ever.
great.
I've not. I see. No, I've not seen that.
Well, I
not
don't
a
want to
spoiler.
spoil
This is why
anything,
you
but
say
you
the
need to
Academy
buy
Awards
them.
have been on to
Well,
Barry
we're fucking
already
talking
about
about it.
shoving him
Yeah.
forward for next year's Oscars. I didn't want to say it.
Thanks, man.
You're the
No, but
man
you
of
did
the
do a
know.
good job. from
It's
what I
the
saw.
best 6 seconds I've ever had on camera.
And then what else have you been in?
There was a Someone and Someone.
Yeah, with fashion,
With fashion,
which was
uh,
amazing.
That was hilarious. Actually.
It was, right?
That was all Vachin though. I didn't do anything.
But that was your story. That was
Yeah, that was. We talked about it.
on Fashion's podcast.
On
Go back and watch
Fashion's
that one
podcast.
as well. Or listen to
But it was a
whatever.
friend at work who was pissed
Give us
at me
money.
because in her dream I cheated on Vachin.
No, I
And
was.
She
saw
really
it,
liked
saw it.
Vachin.
It was good.
Yeah.
But it was based on a real.
Oh, really?
It was based on a real thing.
Oh,
where,
really? Okay.
a girl at work came up to me because she like goes to Vachin and stuff like that for treatments, and she was pissed at me because in her dream I cheated on Vachin. She didn't talk to me. So I was like, that's so funny. That needs to be written into it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love those moments. It's like something, as I say, yeah, like you just things that happen in real life where you're like, need to make mental note of that because that's a good idea for a film or even a line in a film or whatever it is.
Yeah, we were on about that yesterday.
Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah,
So I guess we'll move into introductions and kind of how you ended up south of Belfast.
we're in France right now, aren't we?
I told you not to give it away.
Okay, Madrid.
So, yeah, Jess, I guess, how did you get involved with the Badgers and like what was your kind of journey in filmmaking to get to this point?
Yeah. Do you know, I can't even bloody remember how we met. Like, it's online, isn't it?
I
Few
think so. Yeah,
mutuals.
because well, it was very much so that I'd known Mark online. I knew Damon online, and through Damon, I kind of found out about Mark.
Yeah.
And then Mark was plugging rats like crazy, which fair play. Mark is, in my opinion, the example of like a filmmaker who knows how to push his stuff, you know, promotion wise. And that was my first time, I think, having seen you and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I'd see you on the promotional work for Rats, and
About 18 months, isn't it? Would you say about
Yeah.
18 months? Because about a year before we
Because
actually...
because I was chatting to you, like when I went to Fright Fest last August, I was like, oh, you coming to Fright Fest?
Yeah.
And you were like, no, I'm going to Starburst. Or,
Yeah.
You know. And did you guys do Rain Dance that year as well?
Yeah.
Yeah,
we did rain dance later on in the year. I think it was like November or something.
Was it?
I think so.
You did I think I remember you guys putting up like a 3D camera picture or something.
Yeah,
It was like we did to this
it was
booth.
cool.
It was.
Yeah.
And it was just Mark.
I love Rats, by the way. It was a
Thank
really
you.
cool film.
That's, as I said to you, I really enjoyed it. I had no idea what it was going into it. It looked like the old school 1980s James Herbert
Yeah.
novels. I wasn't expecting it to be quite as funny as it was, but I
Yeah.
think with Mark being a comedian,
It shone through in the writing.
it shone through in the writing big time, and I just thought I really enjoyed it. It really was a throwback
Yeah.
to the Hammer horror style, even
Yeah.
Hammer and the mid-1980s British horror resurgence, where I think British horror is always a bit tongue-in-cheek and a bit playful.
Yeah.
I think
that's
American
part
horror
of
takes
fun.
itself very
Yes,
seriously,
Yeah.
and British horror is always a little bit like,
Just pokes fun at itself.
yeah, it knows. It's
Yeah.
like, if I'm going to scare you, I'm going to have to kind of get you kind of a bit like,
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
But I loved Rats as well. And it's done really well for itself, as I've noticed. It's got like,
Yeah.
it's got more laurels on the poster than the
Yeah.
poster.
I think it's done better than anyone
I think it's
expected,
done 18
really.
so far. I think Mark said the last day, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah, last I heard. So, yeah, I think it did better than anyone expected. So,
It's
you
awesome.
never really know, do you? You
Never.
you never really know how it's going to go.
It's the story we were telling you last night about Framed, where like it was just done in 6 hours, just a throwaway. In our minds, kind of, we're doing this for a competition, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then it ends up getting the most festival awards and
Yeah.
festivals.
It's usually the way. Yeah.
Because I don't think if you do something like me with Retribution, where I was like, this is going to be so, like, if you build yourself up that it's going to be like your festival film, then it's probably not going to do as well as you think.
Yeah.
Whereas I think if you're just like, put it out there and see what happens, it's like, what the?
What the? Yeah, we're going to have to explain that one later.
I think so. A little bit. It's about my bad writing. That is all it comes down to. But yeah, kind of echoing what Barry was saying, even outside of Badger stuff, like what was the origin story for Jessica Messenger?
As in, like, winding up here, or just in
Or even
general?
just in general, film and stuff. With
So-
acting.
Yeah, it was never, like, I never wanted to do acting at all, like, until I was about 18. So before that, it was all just dance stuff. Like, that was the goal. I just wanted to be a professional dancer. And that's all I did. Everything that I did was gearing towards that. And then I got to sort of 18, and I went away to college specifically for dance. And I kind of realised that I'm not professional. And I'd worked with these people that were just incredible. And I was like, yeah, okay, I think my time's over.
Wow,
and I was
that's
like-
a harsh realization.
Yeah,
at
and
18.
it really was that simple. And like,
Jesus.
people always say, you know, do you not regret it? Do you not miss it? Yeah, of course I miss it. But I just knew I was not in a professional capacity. And that was okay. I was okay accepting that. Because the thing is, at 18, you're never going to get any better. You are at your pinnacle. And the issue is with physical fitness, it's only going to go downhill from there. So that is my pinnacle of fitness. And if I'm not at that skill set, I'm never going to really get to that skill set with such a physical activity. So from there, I was like, you know what else do I love? You know, I love performing arts and I love movies. So I literally applied to do a film degree. And I was like, right, I'm just going to go and study film. And that's what I did for 3 years. And I had no idea I wanted to act. And then I was kind of like, yeah, I fucking hate editing. I hated it with a passion. And I was like,
all
I'm
been there.
crap with a camera. And
Oh,
I
I
didn't
can-
really like...
I can understand that one, 100%.
Yeah, but it was great because I got to have a go.
Yeah,
and sort
exactly.
of, and you know, I loved the theoretical side of it, and I loved, you know, doing my dissertations and things like that. I was like, okay, but performance is kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
So that's where it went from, and I just thought, right, okay, I was going to study a bit more on acting and performing arts now, and sort of pinch that with the film, and then that's it. Like, film acting is my thing, and probably will always be my thing.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up here 7 years later.
Awesome. And kind of off that as well is just a little bit, I mean, you were telling me a story. I'm not going to go into the details of the story, but you were telling me a story that about your dissertation, that it was about Saul.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that makes me curious in relation to like your love on affair
Exactly.
with horror or the horror genre.
Yeah,
If it's there at all.
that was a late find as well, because like horror movies were the bane of my life as a child. Like I was the kind of person that if I watched anything remotely scary, I would have nightmares for the rest of the year. And Scream was like the ultimate film. I couldn't even go to the toilet in my own house without dragging my sister with me. It was that bad. And like she used to put up a Jaws poster on her door just to like, so I couldn't walk near her door. I had to walk past with like a hat over my head. So it's really weird that that's kind of come full circle. And I think it was studying horror as a genre at uni, and we did a whole, you know, I had a whole lesson on that for 2 years, and I got to watch everything and all of it, and you know,
and it's, I guess, when you start kind of critically breaking it down.
Yeah, critically, and it was like, fuck, I love this.
Yeah.
I absolutely love this. And I think it was the creativity side of it and sort of the performance side of it, and like even like the movement elements of it that I could drag in from my past as a performer that made me love it so much.
Well, that's something that I don't think a lot of people realise with horror. Many of the people that I've met within the horror community, you know, performers, come from a dance background. Like, I mean, Tristan, who I've dealt with before, is burlesque dancer and
Absolutely,
stuff.
yeah.
And I think that is hugely important. I think understanding body language and body direction, physicality, is hugely important in horror. Even if it is, as you've described before, running through a forest, falling down. There's a
it's a dance.
Choreography. It's a dance.
It's a dance.
And if it's not done right, it just looks cheap and fake, and so the scare isn't there. You're not feeling it. And as I said to you, I think as a horror nut myself, I think it's very much every film I see in the horror genre, I'm like sitting there going, come on, scare me. Yeah. Scare me, please. Like I need that rush. I haven't had it since I was like 13. Come on. And then like every so often you do get one that does. But for the most part, like I think my story and people will get sick of hearing this on the podcast, but my story with horror is that at 5 years old, I crept behind my grandmother, my aunt, and my mother were watching Nightmare on Elm Street in our sitting room, and I crept behind the couch and like peeked out and watched it.
Bad move.
Yeah, very bad move. And they got up to go to bed, and then they just heard like a squeak from behind the couch. They were like, "Don't leave."
Yeah.
Like, Penny, how long have you been there? And I was just like, the whole time. and I think that since that moment I've been like, nothing will ever scare me like that again. Nothing will ever have that same effect.
I mean, I talk about Scream quite a lot when people ask, you know, typical questions, what's your favourite horror movie, or, you know, how did you come to do horror films? And that was the pinnacle film for me, and it was purely because of how it made me feel. I mean, it destroyed my life, ultimately, for about 2 years. I couldn't go anywhere, do anything. I hated the dark. I couldn't turn the light off. I slept with the light on. I couldn't go to the toilet. It was that bad. Yeah, I was probably about 11 when I saw it.
Yeah.
And, like that, I would love to be able to recreate that for someone else. And I think it's that mission, that constant...
Did it also make you realise how badass Rose McGowan was?
Yeah.
Because that's what I got from it as well. I was like, I know she didn't exactly meet a lovely fate in the movie or whatever, but I was like...
It was just smart in so many ways, and I think obviously you don't realise that at 11, but when you revisit it as a teen and then as an adult, and it's like, that was so fucking smart. That's what I want. That's
what I want to achieve, 100%.
Something smart. And
then you're working with us, we're sorry.
Yeah, and then I wind up here.
So, do you want to ask Fiach some stuff? I mean, I don't know if you guys know each other that well, or...
No, I'm interested in a lot of chess and stuff there.
I'll carry on talking then, that's fine. You just sit there.
That's so interesting, because we touched on it the other day in terms of the the differences in terms of if you're approaching like a drama or a horror film or whatever, but that is so true, like bringing the whole dance background to it, I suppose, as well. Like you are telling your story with your whole being, your whole body for horror, kind of.
Because it is such a visual and physical medium.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure, and I suppose you're relying on less... There's by nature, I suppose, there's usually less dialogue probably in horror as well, because you're relying so much on the other elements. Sound primarily,
sound
I suppose.
Is huge,
sound is like pinnacle.
Oh yeah,
the whole thing can fall apart with poor sound design.
But something I've been noticing recently is that I go back and I watch horror films from the 60s and 70s. I'm really trying to get out of my era. I grew up in the 80s. Nightmare on Elm Street was the first one I saw, so that's my era that I love. But then I've been like, no, I want to see more 70s stuff, I want to see more 60s stuff. And what I find amazing is even the ones that, by today's standards, have the hammy acting or the like, you know, like something jumps out and she goes, ah! And like freeze frames. Like,
I love those.
Yeah, same. And I but it's like, yet again, it was all this physicality.
It was part of it.
Extreme.
Yeah, it was
you know?
like horror theatre.
Yeah.
You know, and it was, yeah.
I think Psycho was a huge one on that because before Psycho, I don't think they'd ever gone so extreme with a kill in a movie. They didn't.
It was.
They didn't kind of glorify. I don't think Psycho glorified it, but it lingered on it so much that other things would never have done that before.
I just had a thought there, and with like we touched on it again the other day as well with their directors and how they approach horror too. And I haven't a background in horror, so I'm just curious to know about it. But you hear a lot of like the Hitchcock stuff and Psycho and like creating that atmosphere of like, did he go with the actress with the knife to kind of like create a genuine fear? Like, have any directors, all that type of stuff. Have any directors tried to create that sense of like fear on set for any projects you've done?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's not always possible depending on the situation, but especially with Liam Banks, I work with a director from the Midlands where I'm from, and he shoots a lot of shorts through his company, Super Freak Media. Shout out. And, you know, he definitely helps with that. And I think because he's done a lot of performance work, he's now a writer director, so he understands it from an actor's perspective, that really does help. So with The Final Girl, for definite, when we shot that, it was, you know, pitch black, middle of October, you know, we were shooting through the night in the woods, no lighting other than like little hand lights that we had to get around the place, and I was shooting with 7'2", I think Phil is. He's 7'2". He's a giant with a bag on his head, and it was scary. So it was literally like, you guys go over there with no lights and be stalked by this 7-foot man.
Can I ask a question on that? Because I know some guys that do those. I mean, as you know, I adore Liam's work. Like, I am I'm a fanboy, if I'm being honest. I cannot wait for the one they shot in LA and followed us here.
I can't wait to see it. Yeah, I've got no idea what it's about.
Me neither. I just saw the teaser and I'm like, oh God, you got me. You've got me 100%. Good. But what I've noticed is some other directors who do a lot of those kind of, like, The Final Girl is very much that Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
A homage to those
It was a Halloween special.
Yeah.
So we tried to pull out all the stops.
But even like the bag in his head reminded me of like Friday the 13th too. But something that I know from watching Adam Green talking about Hatchet is that Kane Hodder, who is yet again a big dude, but he never breaks character on the shoot. Like, as in, he'll be off in the woods, just marauding around, shouting, and people will be like, what is that? And it's like, it's just Kane, don't worry.
Yeah.
But the actors wouldn't get to meet him beforehand.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. So when Kane would jump out at them in the scene in the movie, they would legitimately
and that sounds great. Like, and that's why it must be an interesting genre to explore.
It is.
Because like you always want, I don't know, I think a lot of actors always, you want that sense of reality as well. And it's very hard, like sometimes for like to try and keep that sort of sense of spontaneity and everything on set when there's all the practical elements that have to come along. Okay, we're having lunch now, we're having such and such then. But I suppose the stakes can be so high in horror and there needs to be such that sense of unpredictability. Absolutely. I don't know what's going to happen, so I can have that genuine reaction. And
I think because it's a low budget genre typically as well, I mean, you have your tentpole horror movies, but because it's almost traditionally a lower budget genre, that it becomes a thing where you have a guy jumping out and whatever, and that's unpredictable, but also because you're like, we're only shooting for X amount of days, and so it's like, are we getting breaks? It's like, probably not. Like, you end up cold, hungry, tired, alone.
That shoot was hardcore.
Fatigued.
It was,
and then you're just like, and then a guy jumps out at you and scares the shit out of you, so you're like, I can't even do this anymore.
It was, I mean, there were times people were quite broken. You know, we had a few tears even. It was that hardcore, and that was crew. That wasn't cast. So that says it all.
Yes.
But I think the proof's in the pudding. I think it's a really strong shot. I think I think you did a great job of it.
I love the VHS vibe of it. That it looks like an old school.
Yeah.
I think in recent years, it's funny because you're wearing a Stranger Things jumper, but I think in recent years there is a kind of a huge nostalgia factor playing into horror.
Yeah.
And I'm totally okay with it. I want to put that out there, that it's like not like, oh, that's such a negative. No, I'm so happy.
I think makes a lot of filmmakers who they are, or decide to take that path. Or, you know, I'm not a filmmaker, obviously, I'm an actor, but it definitely made me. Oh yeah, who knows? But I definitely am down this path because of the things I watched as a kid and a teen. You know, I wouldn't. That's why I decided to go and do film. It was like, I fucking love films, and I love the way they make me feel, and I want to know more. I want to know more about it, and that was it. So,
actually, Fiach, then to kind of jump off that, like you've done a lot of drama, kind of like you've done a lot more drama stuff.
Yeah.
Be familiar with. I mean, I'm still really looking forward to seeing Blue Dawn, and I haven't seen Lift. I haven't seen anything. I've only seen the stuff that you
don't know who I am, do you?
Send me screeners, okay? No, but genuinely, I think, like, how do you find that? Like, that's such a, in my opinion, now I've had to do one shot where I've had to go to a very emotional place while acting, and it drained me. Like, I mean, anything physical that I've done before that, in the don'ts and stuff, nothing was close to the like having to lose it emotionally. I just felt like completely wiped out.
Yeah, how do you like gear up for stuff like that? Because that's, you know, an area that I've touched on, but not nearly as much as I would like to. So like, how do you get in that headspace for an emotionally challenging role?
I think it's changed so much, like the last few years. It's like acting has changed or my perception of what acting has changed a lot the last years. Say for like, initially when I don't know, like 4 years when I was starting to kind of, you know, take it serious and pursue it full time, I was Googling, how do you gear up for emotional scenes? And you hear of, like, you know, there's a lot of like emotional recall and all these things where you're kind of, you know, drawing on past experiences and trying to remember, what did it smell like then, what did I see exactly, to create that feeling in that moment. And I was like trying to work on that for a while, and then I recognized that, like, okay, sometimes when you're doing that mid-scene, it stops you actually existing in that moment. You know, it's all very well you thinking about your dead dog or whatever it is then, but is that actually pertinent to the context of the immediate situation, you know? So then I was like, no, it's actually kind of blocking me, and then I started to look at other forms of it. And what I do now is really, it's more just trying to be as present in that moment. And it's a funny thing with acting. It's like we're trying to achieve this. It's the simplest thing in the world, but it's the hardest thing in the world to get to trust that actually, okay, just being in there and believing in the circumstances of, okay, if someone just tells me that my dad has died in this scene, that if I actually just don't anticipate that line and actually just listen to him, and then hopefully that will just have that reaction in me, and then you can try and simmer in that feeling when you're there. One other thing I find, which is, if we're trying to get in that headspace, say if it's a day where you are going to be shooting a scene like that, is not to try and chase that feeling too early in the day. Do you know what I mean? That's another thing which
sort of drain yourself out.
Yeah, if you start kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to start listening to my emotional music now, and I'm going to start to, you know, do it too early, and then you've kind of blew your load before you're actually.
We experienced that on a shoot on the Cheese Box, where Kev had been so, and I don't know if, like, Kev would say this himself, like he had been so built up for this. It was a biopic about his grandfather in this tragic situation, so he had really been like, when we get to that moment by the graveside, it's all going to come out, and he believed it 110%. And then we got there, and he was just like froze, and he was like, no,
it's not coming.
And even then he went off and, like you say, listened to his music and came back and was like, no. And it was the first time I've ever really had the feeling of being a director who does more than just say, you go here and you do this, and you, because Kev was like, I need you. We both had a very strong connection to the subject matter of that film, and he kind of pulled me over by the grave and said, I need you to tell me your story. And it was like, I opened floodgates that I just like was like this weeping mess on the ground, like, because I talked about stuff that I hadn't talked about in 30 years. Like, and he just patted me on the shoulder and went, thanks, I got it now.
Thanks, dude.
Well, that's an important thing, is that relationship with director as well. That's another way that you can get there or whatever, or, you know,
for a director to understand that not everyone,
to cause an effect in you. Remember with Blue Dawn, say, without giving too much away about the ending, there's there's a bit of an emotional towards the end especially, and Naj, who was directing that film, who I he's, you know, one of my closest friends, and we trained together as actors like 4 years ago. That's how we met, and that's how the film came about. But he knew that I respond quite visually to things as well. So in this scene where a certain thing has happened, I was kind of just sitting down in the corner, and Nadja was kind of feeding me images of just saying, okay, now imagine this off camera. And we were able to remove those directions in the edit, but all you see is my face, and you can see these different kind of images coming into my eyes.
And your eyes reflecting back your thoughts.
And it's sort of
Do you think that his study as an actor has helped him to be that way as a director, to actually understand that you need a visual process and not necessarily, you know, because that's something I've mentioned a fair few times before
100%.
About different kinds of directors, and that's a massive thing. And I think that's where Liam Banks comes from as well, because he has that sort of connection with it as an actor, and it does help. Maybe why Mark had that connection with his comedy and Rats, and that sort of trickled through to Lawrence and Nick. So I do think you, as a director, you managed to pull in your experiences and utilise that.
I think it's a huge thing for directors. I think directors should always maybe go and train, or even just take a bit of a part-time course in acting, or just get to somewhat familiar with an actor's process or whatever, but you know, or what it is to how an actor would like to be spoken to, or for to know that the actor actually wants you to sometimes be hands-on with them and say,
absolutely,
you know,
sometimes you need that, because you can only see, like, you know, it's a very intense experience. You're sort of in a fishbowl with everyone staring at you, so sometimes you need to have someone on the outside looking in actually tell you where this is going and how it's coming across, because it might be coming across great in here, but it's not reaching there. And you sometimes need someone to be able to peer in and go, I'm going to help you with that.
It's a funny one, isn't it? Because it's such a catch-22. There's that, and then there's also, like, you don't want there's the directors then who are like, okay, and you need to say this line more
over-directing.
Like, I want this to be angry, and you're sad here, and it's like, fuck off, man. Let me.
It's the Solskjaer sisters, Jen and Sylv. They, when I asked them on like Nick's Chattery show about like how, you know, I just wanted to say something to them. This was before we become a bit more familiar, so I was like, I wonder if they'll read out my question. So it was like one of those really crappy questions, and it was just like, how do you deal with actors, you know? Your real generic bland question like that. Or, you know, it's just like, as in but I had asked two questions, but the Jen and Sylvia, their approach was like that. They were like, just look at your actor and look at what their process is. Because
they're all
every
so
actor
different.
has a different, and so that's why when I sometimes hear actors and stuff say, this is the way to direct, this is the way to do it, and I'm like, but it's the exact same in acting.
Of course.
There's different directors and there's different processes.
Absolutely.
And that brings me round to like the fact that I think if you're an actor for film, I think it's important that you have some level of understanding of how films are made.
Absolutely.
And that goes right back the other way. You know, it's I find it incredibly helpful as an actor. I understand your guys' process. I know why you need to shoot that 10 billion times. I know why you need to do that again.
Or even
I know,
the positives of that, where if you say, if you're like, but I'm not sure about this, and if we say, oh no, but it's grand because in post we're going to do this, you're like, yeah, okay, I get you. Yeah, like, you know, as in, even if there was a doubt there about how that had come together, we often think very post-driven. Not necessarily we'll fix it in post, but as in like, no, but in
how
the
is that
sound mix I was never going to do this. Or, And I think
it's important.
It helps to be able to relay that to...
I think so, and to realise that as an actor with film, and especially that you are part of this larger jigsaw.
Absolutely.
You're just another element, and you are essentially the last thing, or the main thing, the focal thing that everyone sees on the screen. You're representing it, but you are just another part of the jigsaw. So understanding that if the director maybe didn't pat you on the bum for doing well in that scene, that's okay, that you're actually, they're worrying about getting the shot there and the fucking keeping
It's so weird you say that, because as I say, I've done a limited amount. Funny thing is, when I was a teen, I wanted to be an actor. That was my first thing. Oh, 14 as a kind of a playwright and an actor. I did a lot of theatre in my teens. And I was upset. I did like Playboy of the Western World when I was like 14, and I wrote a play called The Cage, which done quite well and it won like an award in Nina and stuff, and I was the lead in that. It was about my to not get too emotional and weepy, it was about my brother who was an alcoholic at the time. He's off it 14 years now, but at the time, and for a 14-year-old to play, people were like, this is very mature. Because it was like about this guy drinking, and like he smashes a glass weight to get sugar glass and all this kind of stuff. But I wanted to be an actor. That was my first thing. A writer and an actor, they were my loves. And then when we came back and Brian O'Regan approached me to do Passenger Zero, even though I'd done the don't stuff, which I always say never felt like acting, it was just like, I need to do this because nobody else is going to. And it wasn't until I see people watch the don'ts like, oh, they respond really well to that, that's cool. But when I got to experience the other side of the coin a lot more in Passenger Zero than on the don'ts, working with another director. Because like that, I would be like, after a take, I'd be like, he didn't come over and tell me I did a good job.
Was that a bad job?
Like, was that just a really bad take? And that's how he's looking at me. He's not looking at me. He won't look me in the eyes. And like,
I think I always just have faith that if it was bad, they'd have told me.
But that's what
and
we
we'd
always
be
say
shooting
to people.
it.
Yeah, like
so it clearly wasn't bad.
Yeah, it comes back to like the first time we ever worked with like Tubbs on Framed and stuff like that.
Oh, the don'ts when he came into the sitting room. That was our first show with don'ts.
Yeah, but the Framed was the first one we really experienced it because he was like so focal, like he was the main actor, and he'd come over and we'd do a shoot, and then we'd be like, okay, excellent, let's move on to the next angle. And he was like, are you sure that was okay? Like, are you sure you don't want me to go again? And we're like, no, it's like we got everything we needed in that shot, because if we didn't, we wouldn't move on.
Yeah, exactly. We're not gonna jeopardize this production by just moving on for the sake of it. We're not just gonna go, do you know what, for the crack, let's move on and leave that rubbish. That's fine.
Yeah.
And then as well, it's like as an actor, you're like, even if you know that you're like, okay, well, the director maybe technically like that, but fuck, was that the best performance-wise I could have done in that take? And then it's like, but you can't, but
I don't think you ever really feel like you did
and even if you feel like it was, that was fucking on fire, sometimes it won't be.
It won't
or
be.
if you felt, that was a bit flat, and you look at it back,
I don't think you're ever really 100% sure. So you just rely, and that's what it is. Like, I think as an actor, you have so much trust in your director, because that's all you've got at the end of the day. You don't really know how that comes across, and like you just have to trust in their opinion, and you just have to trust that they're happy to move on because it was okay. And that's all you can do until you see it.
But I think that's why, in my opinion, that the role of writers and actors are very similar. Like almost more so. I mean, I think the roles of actors and directors are quite different, and that's why it's hard to get a relationship where that gels, as you say, like really. And if somebody has a bit of an acting background or whatever, but I think actors and writers are actually much closer, because writers are doing that, they're pulling from their own experiences, they're putting it out there, they're always questioning, is it good enough? They're always going like, I'm sure if I rewrote that line it would be better, I know if I come back or they go, that line sinks, I nailed it, and then they show it like, and you're like, it's okay, and I'm like, I'm crumbling.
Absolutely. Well, no, 100%. That's why a lot of actors are fucking amazing writers. You Jack Nicholson.
Exactly.
Unbelievable writer. Brando apparently as well was an absolute incredible writer. Used to most scripts he got, he'd change half the dialogue. He'd just cut out lines where it wasn't necessary. I think writers can often, you can sometimes tell a writer's writing in a script, and I think you should always try and tell the story in a briefest way as possible.
But I can't abide flowery prose. Like, there's a time and a place for it, right? Like, there is totally a time and a place for flowery, kind of like eloquent, and like maybe it's a period piece or something. I don't know. Fair enough. But in some things I read it and I'm like, there was such a pure line to this as well. Not true to life, but also it was just like, without going six lines to say that thing, there was a one sentence that was way more effective. That's where I think too many writers aren't editors. Like, as in their own editors. They just kind of
that's why they send theirs off to
editors. Notes.
Start again.
But I think if you can't take notes and you can't take feedback, then you shouldn't be writing.
No.
Because that is the number one thing. Looking at the don'ts and all the feedback we got in the first versions of it, but looking at it now and going, that was all 100% correct.
But that all comes, I think, with like, we can we're just kind of getting rid of our, like, not letting our insecurities get the better of us, because we're naturally, like, we're always going to be a bit protective of our work.
Absolutely,
we think it's shit, but like, it's sort of, you learn now, okay, actually no, if someone is
You learn how to take constructive criticism,
exactly.
don't you? And I think it's hard when you're starting out because
Sure.
you're already not sure.
Yeah.
You're already so unsure of what you're doing, so it's like, God, no, they're just pointing out the fact that I'm unsure.
Yeah.
So
you have a lot of, I mean, you talk with constructive criticism, as you say, there's fuck you, your stuff is shit.
Yeah, like I'm a big believer in constructive criticism, but like
in the internet age.
Yeah, but give me something I can use.
Yeah, that I can
like
work with.
if you're just like, well, that was shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't.
That's not constructive.
I can't fix that. It was like,
I can't go anywhere with that.
It was like when
But the bin.
you had watched Cheesebox originally, and you were like, I just didn't connect with that actor. And I was like, okay, well, it was like, what was it about that? And then it was like stuff that I was able to take on board from that that I could pull in for something else. It was like, okay, now that was constructive criticism. I can now do something about that and keep an eye going forward.
Yeah.
Whereas if you were like,
Just fucking like him, I.
What a ball of shit.
Yeah.
But it was just one of those things. It was like, if you give me that, I know you're not telling me it's crap. You're telling me why it doesn't resonate with you.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it was like, that's something I can keep in mind and maybe make something that resonates with more people next time. So,
I think that's another big talking point at the moment, though, industry-wise, is that I heard a great saying the other day, which is, don't try to write something that connects to everyone. Try to write something that connects to someone.
Yeah.
Like, because too many people... If there was a formula for the perfect movie, everyone would make it.
Yeah, of course.
And you just go to the cinema and you'd be like, everything is great, everything is perfect, everything's wonderful. I think the joy of cinema is its subjectivity, that the four of us at this table could all go see the same film and have completely different opinions.
See, that's how I was with Cake. I don't know if you've seen Cake. It's Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah.
And
it's like a really heavy drama. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a standout performance. She's just stunning. And I mean, again, that's so emotional. If you've not seen it, you must watch it. It's so emotional from start to finish. And, you know, it did get rave reviews, but I know quite a lot of people who saw it that didn't really like it. And it was like, I mean, it is, you know, without killing the story, but it's about her son dies. Mm-hmm. And how she deals with grief and how she goes through her day-to-day life dealing with that. I don't know if it's because I've got a 9-year-old son, but I couldn't make my way through that film.
I think as a parent as well,
it was hardcore.
Yeah, it was. It hits home very in a spot.
It was hardcore.
You're right under the heart and start pushing it, and you're like, oh crap, I can't do it.
It's just this scene with her staring at this. I think it's a painting or is it a canvas? I can't remember, but it's something on the wall, and she's just staring at it, and there's nothing else but that moment.
I think, if I remember correctly.
And it's just her eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, even talking about it now, it makes me emotional.
Yeah, emotional. But I felt that way with... There's so many films that I think do that. Like, is it Milk, the one with Sean Penn?
Yeah, I've not seen that.
Really intense, emotional film.
Yeah.
That and it's funny, this goes back, right, to like with horror films, you're looking for a reaction, which is you're looking for, please scare me, please make me jump out of my seat, or please make me do this. And then I find the best horror films are the ones that subvert that and actually would say make you get emotional.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, I came into this to
expecting
get scared,
something and
not
getting
to be like
else.
weeping in a corner because this is like hitting like some really deep emotional place. And I think horror gets so maligned with that, where it's just like, it's just a jump scare thing. It's just and I'm like, go watch like some of the best genre films and they have the deepest messages. Like The Babadook, and I know it's
I enjoyed that. I loved
it, and it was a very kind of mixed opinion one where people were like, oh, it wasn't scary, and that's where I think so much it got the exact same thing. It wasn't scary, and I'm like, I don't think it was trying.
I don't think it was ever meant to be.
I think it was actually a drama in a horror kind of dressing.
Costume.
It got dressed up for Halloween.
No, I really liked it. I enjoyed that film. I thought it was good fun.
Well, for me, it was Babadook was that emotional thing again, because I was like, you know, it's a story of loss and her, and I was like, this is rough. Like, this is not. The kid was so annoying. But then I was like, I love films that make you look at yourself, and I'm like, that kid is so annoying.
But all kids are so annoying.
You're like, I wonder if you get killed.
But then you look at your own life, and all kids can be so.
I know. But by the end, of it, I don't want that kid.
But that's children.
Yeah, by the end of it, you're like, I don't want anything to happen to the kid. I want them to all be safe and happy.
And happy ever after.
But I think it's the same with drama. I think if you see something as a dramatic film, or you hear that, like, you do go into it with like an expectation. You're like, I want this to provoke an emotional
I want this to crush
reaction.
me alive.
Yeah. or if it's comedy, I want to be laughing.
You know, so well, it has to have some effect on you, isn't it? It's the same with theatre, same with music, same with film. It's just like we want to feel, and that's why we are going into
you want to connect.
Like you're going into this space for whatever it is, an hour or 2 hours to feel and to kind of just get out of the everyday, even if it is laughter
or
tears
or
fear or whatever. Though fear,
you can't do.
Not great with horrors now.
Don't watch my back catalogue.
Or maybe I just need to get over. Maybe it is that I just need to actually watch a horror, not going like that.
I think you need to be in one. I think that's what would...
Yeah, that changes it. Definitely changes it.
I want to watch... I'm reading A Clockwork Orange at the moment.
That's a genre film. It's a genre.
I know it's a bit
genre,
different, but it's like... oh, fuck me.
But it's a rough film. Like,
it is a rough film.
It's a hard watch.
I've not watched that in years. It was
watched
about
it
10
in
years.
17,
Yeah.
I really want to watch it now because just from reading a book and just like... It's so fucking amazing. Like.
Have you watched The Clockwork Orange?
No.
I'm so angry at you. Like cinematography in that is like
I know it's up there as one of those ones that like every cinematographer should watch, and
you just haven't.
But it's
yet.
Kubrick's. But the thing is about Kubrick's cinematography, as much as I absolutely adore it, if you've seen one, you've kind of seen them all. I'm not trying to be bad, but it's like the center framing and like his DP had a very obvious style that like if you look at 2001. And you've got like Dave floating or whatever in the middle, and then it's that center frame shot. And then you look at The Shining and the two twins, and it's the center frame shot. And you look at The Clockwork Orange, and he's sitting in the chair, and they're okay. I've kind of seen this DOP style across the board.
Yeah, Kubrick was very specific about everything.
We did a center frame shot in Sad Ones,
and in The Dance.
Which one was in The Dance? Is it a spoiler one, or can you say it?
It was when Mark's character is first introduced. I know it got cut in the final shot, but we did it.
Oh yes, we did in the hotel upstairs in the hotel. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I think we actually referred to it as the Kubrick shot.
Yeah, but do you find that actually, Barry, that like with you being a cinematographer, you know, a DP, that it's like people expect you to have seen a lot more movies than you probably have, or like as in like specific movies? They go like, well, as it like me with Drive when I first talked to you about it was like, you haven't seen Drive.
But to be fair, I didn't tell you I hadn't seen Drive until after we had finished filming.
That was amazing. I was like,
was that before Retribution?
Yeah. And I was like, I need you to watch Drive and The Guest, and I can't remember what the third film was. But I was like, this is the style for Retribution. And he was like, yeah, no problem, dude. And he watched the trailers for all of it.
Yeah, no.
You nailed it.
I had a list. Like I specifically had the films. I was gonna sit down and watch them, but we were working on a load of stuff coming up to it. So I had no time to watch them, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna watch the trailers and analyze as much of this as I can. Yeah. And I'll never forget, it was Michael Joyce who said it to me. We had set up the scene in the kitchen, and I got all the lighting set up and everything. That
was when I first heard.
And Michael Joyce came up to me, he was like, oh man, it looks like just like the scene from The Guest. And I was like, yeah? Awesome. It was like, because I haven't seen it. He was like, really, man? He's like, it looks just like it. And I'm like, cool. It was like, Paddy listed it as one of his inspirations for this. I was like, but I hadn't seen it. I was like, I watched the trailer, and he was like, you nailed it though. And then I think he blabbed to you.
Have you watched it since?
No.
What, The Guest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you? No?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't like it?
I wasn't a massive fan.
Alright. I just feel like it is the modern day John Carpenter's Halloween.
I don't know. I think it's him. Not
you just
fan.
Don't like Dan Stevens?
Not really. Moving on.
He's got glorious blue eyes.
No.
You fall into them like an ocean.
I think that's probably what it was.
Speaking of glorious blue eyes.
Oh yeah, sorry, Fiach.
We're 55 minutes in, and we didn't talk about how Fiach became an actor and got to this point in Sydney, south of Belfast. Well, we know how we got here.
Yeah, stop trying to distract us, Fiach.
Sorry, guys.
With those handsome blue eyes.
He's like, yeah, no, I just want to hear Jess talk.
No, but that wasn't. I'm more interested in hearing other people's. But
yeah, but the other people want to hear yours.
Okay. So, as in acting in general, or how I came across you lovely people?
Both.
Okay.
Start at the beginning. It's a good place to start.
Start at the beginning. It's it goes back to early films that you're inspired by. and Braveheart was it for me.
Oh, nice.
That was shot around here.
That was shot, it was shot around Wicklow.
I mean, sorry, south of Belfast.
For all you stalkers out there. Yeah, so my auntie used to live over in Ballymore Eustace, which is over in West Wicklow, and that was around where a lot of Braveheart was shot. So we'd be over visiting there, and I remember the first time I watched Braveheart, I think was over in her house there, and in the field next to them was where like the Battle of Stirling or Falkirk took place. And I used to think that when you were watching a film that it was taking place in real time, that like when you were watching this on TV, that somewhere there was a battle.
It was live
going on. So I was almost like checking out the window, like, okay, well I know that it's meant to take place over there, but watching it. And then and so I was like, fuck, well I want to be a Scottish warrior, when I grow up. And then when I realised that, okay, they're actors and that Mel Gibson is an actor playing William Wallace. And I used to write, I was trying to write biographies on Braveheart, but it was just transcribing like every line from the film. So I was like, I am William Wallace, I am 9 years old, my dad just died, I hate the in a little like one of those little school copybooks, like the little pink ones.
I should find them and we could just I would do a web series of somebody sitting down reading these biographies written by kids of characters from big movies.
But obsessed with Braveheart, like really obsessed with it. And then I think so. I was like, okay, well, I want to be an actor then when I'm older. And then I started to, when I look back on it now, it's like I definitely had a fascination with the idea of like characters. Like I would become obsessed with like William Wallace, and then I had like kilts. Like I'd wear kilts and have a stick and run around my garden and blue face paint on, and then Robin Hood as well. And I'd like have a bow and arrow and just spend hours running around out there. And then even football, become obsessed with that. But it was more, I'd be out in my garden and I wouldn't be able to play football unless I knew what player I was going to try and play, I'd be commentating on myself playing. And when I look back at it, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like, it was all, I was like, that's all a sense of like play or performance or character or whatever.
Like, here comes Ronaldo, he's coming.
It would just, like weird commentary, talking to myself. But so it was definitely there from like a young age. And then I think from early teenage years, I was like, I want to do it, but it was the idea of I was way too scared to go about doing it or to kind of go into a drama class, because I think by nature I'd be quite shy as well, and the idea of putting myself out there and into that environment where you are trying to make people laugh and I mightn't go
but you're also making yourself the centre of attention, like
that would be quite scary,
of course.
And I think that's maybe a common trend among some other actor friends I've found as well. It's like acting actually gives you the space to be heard or to be seen or whatever, whereas I think naturally maybe I wouldn't actually like to be the centre of attention in a big crowd of that. But that's all the psychology behind it.
Can I ask a quick question on the whole William Wallace, like just because it's something that ties back to Brian Regan in the first episode. That's a very big kind of tent pole, but the performance, obviously Gibson's performance as William Wallace was this like amazing. Did Gladiator have any kind of effect on you?
I just that I loved it.
Just because Brian Regan was on our first episode, he said that was a huge influence, and him as well. Like it was because these characters were so well defined, I guess.
Well, like I think after Braveheart and the idea of like war epics and that, I loved any film that was similar to so Gladiator and Troy and all these other films. Oh my god, it's a fucking spectacle. So I was just super into them, but any film like that, and when you look back now, it's like, oh, that makes
exactly,
it does make sense. And then kind of getting into my later teenage years, I was like, still, if anyone asked me, what are you going to be when you're old, I was like, I'm going to be an actor. I'm going to be an actor. But then friends were like, well, you're not doing anything. Why are you saying that? But you're not actually acting. I was like, no, I'm going to be an actor. And I do like the odd like Monty Python sketches and Christmas concerts in school and that type of stuff, And then when I was finishing up secondary school, I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do now? And I was like, I'll go to UCD and try study something academic, but get very involved in the drama society there and try get experience that way. But as soon as I got in there, I was a bit kind of intimidated by the drama society, very cliquey and stuff. So I kind of didn't.
In Ireland, are you serious?
Yeah. So I kind of didn't
Really?
didn't get as involved there as I would have liked to have, and kind of focused on the academic thing. Did the odd few short films or whatever.
What was your first ever short?
Oh
Do you remember?
God. There were some bad ones.
Oh, there always are.
Actually, I
don't
think it was a
worry.
horror. It was a horror.
No way.
Yeah, it was.
That's why you don't like horrors.
It was. It actually wasn't a horror. Right. It was. Was that my first short? Or was it? There was one in UCD. And I think I was playing like a gang member guy or something called
I'll catch
Danny.
you, buddy.
That was that was one of them. And then there was another one which it was a good friend of mine, Jeremy Roberts. He was doing a filmmaking course in Bray, and it was a kind of horror poltergeist type thing. We shot it in this house, very
This
appropriate.
feels like a house you could do a
Yeah,
podcast
and it was me like coming back to the house and did you see that scary mask that was here, the big long hair?
I missed
No, it's
that.
Okay, it's out there somewhere, but we used that as like the demon thing, and it was basically that thing scaring me while I was in bed, and it was probably the finest bit of work I've ever done.
Jess, just quickly bounce off that and we will come back to Felix's other stuff, but what was your first ever short?
I didn't do a short. I did a feature, and
Oh no, I don't like that either.
this is a difficult one.
You don't have to say anything that will
So
hold you to, like in a court of law.
I kind of want to actually, because it should be said. So yeah, I came out of uni and I started looking for work. So I just started putting myself out there. I didn't know anybody, anything. I didn't know any actors, any filmmakers. Obviously, I went to uni, but I didn't have a lot to do with them at uni because I had a child in that time. So I just used to go do
Your
my stuff and go
studies,
home.
yeah.
So I never really got involved in the social side of it. So I didn't really walk away from uni with any connections. And then there was this filmmaker in Nottingham and held auditioned, and it was all very, I had no idea what was supposed to happen, I suppose. And there was a big group of us, and then we all ended up working with this filmmaker. And he wanted to do a one-shot feature in 90 minutes. So we rehearsed for 3 days in a cabin, and then we basically filmed it one shot, and it was a lot of improv, which I love. I love improv anyway. Probably coming from a dance background, you do a lot of improv-related work, so I quite like that. And it was horrendous, and that went up for sale. And then we did another couple of films, which were less... let's do it in one take, but they were also terrible, and they're all on IMDb.
This is the internet age. It's,
But I did put a post out not long ago about that filmmaker, and unfortunately there are some issues with that person now, in light of the Weinstein
but that is
scandal.
weird. I think it's great though that we are like that can of worms has been popped right open, and it's great to see people that are stepping up and saying, and from my own,
I would have avoided that conversation before.
If it hadn't been blown wide open.
Yeah, and I think, and you sort of look at yourself in the mirror and go, you know what, we shouldn't be avoiding those conversations.
No.
And we've all perpetuated it. I've perpetuated it. I've perpetuated it for 7 years.
Everyone does. Yeah.
And it's like, why have I done that? Just because that's what you do. And it has forced everyone to look in the mirror and go, yeah, that's a really ugly thing to keep doing.
But it's even, I've noticed that once or twice, not explicitly, but like I've had to say to people just certain behaviours. I've just been like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Can we not do that?
Yeah.
Not act like that, because that's not where I want to be at. Like I don't want to be.
Yeah.
Like it's a very simple thing to request. It's actually it's just like, can we just not be sleazebags?
But I think film sets they're very, it's an environment where like a lot of that kind of chauvinistic behaviour can happen. There's a lot of men on set, usually, and testosterone flowing around and guys cracking jokes at work, and it's like a lot of the time.
And that's the thing, like I don't want people to then think they can't joke around. I mean, I'm like the worst for innuendo.
Yeah. We had a moment on intervention. I need to tell the story because of you at intervention. I kind of said to the guys, I was like, guys, like don't we don't say like really, like, especially Tubbs and Uri. I was like, just don't be super crude, alright? Jesus. And then
they met me.
And then you said something, we were on set, you just said something, and then you were like, by the way, I'm like an absolute dirtbag. And then it was like the floodgates open, like,
yeah, and I don't want people to think that that's what that means.
No, I know, yeah.
I mean, I've been very lucky, and I know, obviously, the first 3 weren't particularly great, but, you know, I've been very lucky who I've worked with. Yeah. I've had amazing times on set. I've met some incredible guys that I've worked with, you guys included, and I love having a bit of banter on set. I don't want that to stop over people being afraid to just have banter, but there's a difference between banter being mutually reciprocated and it not being banter and just being really fucking ugly behaviour, and that's the difference. And that, I know that's tough, but you kind of got to know whether that person is open to that banter or if they're not and they just don't like it. Yeah. It's difficult, but it's like in daily life. You've got to work out where that person sits.
But it's just having a gauge. It's just
it
looking
is
at
having a
somebody
gauge.
and going, and you say something and maybe they don't react, and then just going, okay, that's not. It's literally like being a stand-up comic almost. Like, this joke isn't landing with the audience. I'm going to do something else, or you know, like, just instead of just kind of being like, no, I'm going to force them to listen to an hour and a half of these jokes that they clearly dislike. It's like, and
it's about intention. I think, you know, I mean, it's so depends how perceptive you are as a person, but like, I can definitely tell when there is an intent and when it's just a joke. Yeah. And, you know, I'm all for jokes and innuendo. That's not a problem at all. But I've definitely had occasions where there's been intent, and that's something completely different. Completely different.
So sorry, it was a little tangential, but it was great. It was something that was very important to talk about. Jumping back though, because I distracted you with your whole first short thing.
Oh, no.
Talking about first features. How me and Fiach got introduced was I met these 2 directors on Star Now. They put up an ad and they were looking for a DOP, and I was like, oh, cool. And I met Harry and Alan, yes. And they met them up in Dublin, and they were like, oh, we made this feature, and I was like, oh, brilliant. It's like, can I see it? And they're like, yeah. And they brought me a DVD. Still have the DVD at home.
That's insane.
And it was a feature they had made around Dublin with starring Fiach, and that was my first introduction to Fiach. And they were like, oh, and he's going to be in the short. I was like, yes, I'm on board. I was like, I want to work with this guy. And
that's mad, man, isn't it? I wouldn't have even thought. I was like, you know, when you try to talk about like your pathway and literally we've ended up here with you sitting across there. Yeah, it was Generation X. It was doing that independent feature film, like what, 4.5 years ago. They did it, doing it with those guys. Through that short film Clockwork that never got made. Yeah. Through that, getting Bars on board for Blue Dawn. Yeah. Through Blue Dawn.
That's kind of how it happens, though, isn't it? You just sort of. It builds.
Yeah, and it's like point. Doing causes more doing.
Of course.
Isn't it? You know, it sounds simple, but it's like it's.
Well, it's a little bit of that kind of ethos I have of like what you throw out in the universe comes back at you.
Sure.
And if you do nothing's going to come back.
Absolutely, and that sort of that mindset, that philosophy, like it doesn't, you know, if you say it, it's like, you know, if you put a good energy out there, it comes back. Like that can sound whatever wanky and taboo, but no, it's actually it's very legit. It's but like just.
It's less about saying, it's more about doing. It's
for sure,
doing stuff, and as long as you're putting like some passion and some love into people, someone somewhere will read into that and go, this person genuinely gives a shit about what they're doing. Like, it's there somewhere.
And if you're like a fucking cool, nice enough person doing it as well, you're going to get that back to you. But if you're a prick, you're going to get.
That's kind of the philosophy of the Badgers. Like, it's like
make cool shit with cool people.
Make cool shit with cool people. That's
a great tagline.
That's what we want on our wall, like in the office. Is make cool shit with cool people.
That was when we were trying to figure out a company goal. Company ethos, that was it, and we were like, yes, that's sweet.
And we'll always like, we'll work with people, we'll bring on new people on pretty much every shoot, and then it's like you were saying, you kind of, you'll gel with someone, you're like, yes, you are a Badger, I want to work with you again. Like the first time we shot Clockwork, I was like, if nothing else comes from it, I was like, I would love to work with Fiach again, because even that performance that was in there was really nice, and I was like, I like this guy, we get on really well, and he's a really good actor. So when you came back to me and was like, So we have this thing.
Oh man, that was so funny. We were so fucking delighted about that because we, like, the fact that we even were trying, myself and Aj were trying to make a feature was just nuts because we had zero experience. Like, I'm talking zero.
Oh, trust me, no, the
filmmaking.
Don'ts, it was no better. Trust me, Barry came with his experience from Blue Dawn.
Yeah.
But other than that, the rest of us were.
But like, we were just two actors who were like living together after training as actors, and Naj like writes as well, and he started like writing the script started writing a scene that we'd shoot as a show reel.
Yeah,
It's
show
a
reel.
4 page scene.
Yeah.
And then next thing he keeps writing and turns into like a 10 or 11 page. It was like, oh, maybe we could try and make a short film out of this. And we're like, oh fuck no, we don't know anything about making short films. Then he kept writing, and then suddenly it was like 60
Stop
pages
writing.
in, and he kept going, and then it was like 96 pages or something. He's like, okay, we have a feature here, and then it was, how do we go about doing this? And
What's the runtime on Blue Dawn?
it's 86 minutes because we
chop. No, curious, just because the original Don'ts final script was 106 pages, and it's now sitting at 96 minutes. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
96 pages, 86 minutes, 106 pages, 96
Yeah,
minutes.
well, that's it. I think because we once you get in the flow of it, you realize, okay,
That's
a
not
lot
necessary.
of this.
But well,
could go, like,
you can tell the fact that we had a 106 page script, but we ended up with
Quite a substantial amount of swear words.
well, no, but even at that, our first cut,
Our first cut was what, 2 hours 22?
what?
2 hours 23 minutes.
Lawrence of Arabia suddenly.
It was legit at the same time. It came out at the exact same time as Civil War, because remember we went to the cinema to see Civil War, and it was the same length as Captain America Civil War.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to do another cut.
Well, we were always aware of we had to do another cut. Like,
That was really slapped together for your birthday.
yeah. But that was the first like full assembly, and we're like, awesome. How much of that needs to go? A lot. Awesome.
The majority.
But it was the same. Like the original cut of Blue Dawn was up at the 2 hour mark as well.
Yeah.
I think it always is, isn't
Yeah.
it? Because that's how it works. You sort of do a rough cut, and then you kind
Yeah,
of rough
you-
cut
Yeah.
it again, and
You
then
kind of
you
put everything
go
else in,
again,
and then you're like, what's repeated? What isn't? What doesn't add anything to the story? Like it was class in that first like real editing session when we sat down. Like we lost an entire scene within 20 minutes of getting started because we were like, everything that's said in this scene is either said or implied later.
Yeah.
So I was like, there was no need for that.
It's kind of a fun thing as well, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
it's like you have the loose part of the sculpture,
Yeah.
and you're kind of just chiseling
Chiseling
away.
away. Yeah, exactly.
But like there's, and it's like, oh well, if we do that, that can work there, that can
Yeah,
work there.
yeah,
It's a real puzzle, isn't it?
Jigsaw.
It's an interesting one though, because as I say, I've been like following filmmakers and stuff who have had issues in the edit phase where a studio comes along. Like we're all independent. We're majority. I don't know. We're not studio peeps typically here. I don't know.
No.
Maybe somewhere, but. So far, like we haven't had that experience, but studio execs coming along and just being like, no, you need to put this scene here and that scene there and this scene like this because we want to sell it and package it as this, and you're like, but that's not what it was ever shot to be. Like, and I know, as I say, I've been watching certain films where I'm like, I want to see the director's cut of this because I want to know what it could have been versus what it is. A big one is Nights of Bad Aston by Joe Lynch.
Yeah.
He had such hell with the there's literally, they're walking through a car park. They come from a car park. It's 15 minutes away from where they stop. It kind of very obviously in the movie, it's like, oh, we haven't been walking miles. It's only been a few seconds, kind of minutes or whatever. And then they're like, well, we're going to go back to the car and get like the flashlights or whatever, or we're going to go back to the car and get the book that was left behind. And it goes to the next shot and it's like pitch dark, and you're like, they're walking through the woods and you're like, what?
When did that happen?
What? And they just know that. So it was like, no, we need to move that scene here, and it's like, but that's not going to work because that's at night.
Yeah.
And the reason that we shot it where this all happened, and then it was night, and they got lost in the woods or whatever, and that's all gone. So it just becomes this nonsensical mess of scenes stitched together.
Yeah.
Going back to something, actually, I want to talk a little bit about Blue Dawn because very recently you've gotten in the habit of shooting linearly. Like you'll follow the script pretty linearly more often than not when possible. Going back when we shot Blue Dawn, I was so impressed at continuity. Like shooting, we shot over a year.
We shot over. It was over a year. We started shooting early September 2014, and our official wrap was end of August or early August 2015.
Wow.
Yeah, and throughout that we shot entirely out of sequence depending on who was available for certain scenes. And it's like when the family were down, we'll shoot all of the family stuff together. while we have the location, we'll shoot all of the stuff in that location that we can. And your journal that you had of like, this is day 1, day 2, day 3, this is what the character's wearing day 1, day 2, day 3.
Yeah.
And to go back and reference that of like, okay, so this happens on day 3, so this is what I should be wearing, was amazing.
Actually,
it was so handy to have that.
Yeah, you need that when you're shooting that long. I mean, we were the same with a couple of our features. They took a long time. I mean, Wasteland, we did a couple of mornings a week because we had people working full time. And actually during Wasteland, I mean, I was shooting 90-hour weeks because I had a full-time job and 2 features at the same time. So I'd be filming through the night on Devil's Tower, so all night, and then sleep and all night, and then I'd wake up and do Wasteland in the morning, then go to work, then go to bed, then Wasteland in the morning, go to work, go to bed, and then I'd work the rest of the week. And I did that for like a month. And that was hardcore. Yeah, it was intense. But yeah, we shot Wasteland over I must have been about 8 months doing it that way.
What about Beneath the Neon Tide? Was that
that was
similar
shot
experience? Or?
Because we did a couple of trips up to Norwich. I couldn't tell you the timescale. I want to say 6 to 8 months, but I can't be certain. It was so long ago as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did the same on that. So hence the weather changes throughout the film, but they just fucking work somehow. I don't know how, but they do.
It's interesting though, because I mean, I think that's most people's independent feature story. Because as you say, on shorts, typically I try now to shoot in sequence, etc.
When possible.
When possible.
Yeah.
But obviously with the don'ts, it was the polar opposite of that as well. Like it was.
Yeah.
You could afford to do it where there's not a lot of blood involved. I think where there's blood involved, you kind of have to shoot in sequence unless you've got 10 costumes for each cast member.
You have no choice.
Yeah.
Because the don'ts is a lot of blood.
Yeah.
But it's shot very out of sequence. And
you lucky that wound up okay, continuity wise.
Yeah, I think we get away with the chaos that's in the 3 don'ts. Like in general, the whole the characters are in the middle of this chaos that's happening.
I think if people are stopping the 3 don'ts to worry about the continuity, they're losing out on what's happening in the moment. If they're like, oh my god, that statuette of the pig is not there in that shot. I'm like, but did you see what were you actually concentrating on the relationship here or whatever
it's like a bad sign if they're pinpointing.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's when we were in that edit stage and kind of looking at scenes that didn't work and things that didn't work. It's like if your eye was getting distracted to stuff instead of being focused on like, oh, this is intense or oh, this is deep or whatever, we're like, get rid of it, hack it out, throw it away. But even with the next feature that I want to do, I've started my scheduling process, and like that, I don't want to shoot it over a year.
Yeah.
I don't want to shoot it over a long period of time. But even with that, because there's blood stuff in it and effects, it's like I know I'm going to shoot out of sequence. And it's like, as you say, with the shorts, I'll be like, I'd very much like to shoot this in sequence where possible, but.
I mean, if you've got lots of costumes, it's not a problem. The blood is the problem with costumes. So that if you're on that budget, you kind of have to be aware of that.
There's kind of luckily only one. It's not a gory film, thankfully. It's a psychological horror, so it's not gory. So
that was our issue with Final Girl. We had a costume each, and we had one shot where basically it's a bucket of blood that gets thrown in my face, literally. And it was like, this happens once because I'm wearing a white top. And he missed my face and it went all down. And we're like, fuck, we're going to have to reshoot this tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, but what if it doesn't wash out? And I went home at 3 a.m, bunged everything in the washer, woke up the next day and I was like, it's actually washed out. He's so lucky.
Was it stage burn or was it the meds?
They made it.
Yeah, that stuff washes out.
I know, it's like, thank God, it was so lucky.
If it was stage blood, you were screwed.
And then, and it was the final night and it was like, so we're going to have to do that again. I was like, oh, okay.
Somebody with a better arm.
Yeah, so better aim. And it worked that time. But you do have that moment where you think, we could have just literally fucked that.
Jeez.
So
I'm trying to think
scary with one costume, which was 6 hot chicks.
Oh wow!
We had one costume each for 16 days. Oh, no rips, no nothing.
That's impressive.
It was difficult.
It was similar in Coppa when I had to hit the syringe of blood up into Brian's face. And it's a lot harder, like, to
Blood
judge.
is such a bitch, man.
Trying to judge that, where I'm like,
It's
this
so
is
hard.
kind of aimed at Brian's face, I reckon. Like, it's,
Yeah, because you were up against a wall, so you couldn't be behind it to make
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
it was. You had to do
I
it
was like down like
Yeah.
this, and like when we were in Nate's house, we hadn't specifically gotten permission to cover the room in blood. He was like, no,
we got
like,
permission from Nate, not
kind of.
kind
of. He was like,
the other people who lived there.
He was like, you're not going to be covering the walls in blood, right? I was like, no, I'll be hitting Brian's face, maybe a little bit of spatter, you'd be fine. And then I did this hit, and it literally just like hit the side of Brian's.
It like grazed the side of Brian's face and then just hit the wall.
And it was just like, boom. And I was like, there wasn't even that much blood, it was syringe.
Yeah.
And literally, like, you know, the silence, and then I'm like, cut. And then
It
Nate,
is silence when
Nate
that
from the
happens.
hall just goes like, hi Paddy, what happened? And I was like, get me some more water, get me some
Don't
more
want to
water
know.
now.
I don't want to know.
So good.
Blood stuff is terrifying.
Yeah, you
Intervention
just,
we had it as well.
it's the eyeballs.
Oh wait, that was
Always in the eye. Pretty much every time I've done it, it's
Nate-
gone in the eye.
Nate was the worst.
Every
He'd
time.
spit it into his eye.
It's like every time Nate was like lying back, it was like, we just need you to like cough blood a little bit. And he was like, yeah, no problem. And he put the mouthful and he just like, and it just like
It was- yeah.
instantly go.
yeah.
Like roll upwards.
Yeah.
But Nate was a trooper. Like every take, he was like, "Oh man, whatever," and he'd do the whole take. And then as soon as your call cut, he was like,
My eyes.
I was like, "I can't see
My
out of
eyes.
this eye."
It was crazy.
It depends what they put in it. Like, if it doesn't sting, you know they've thought about that when they've made it.
It doesn't sting.
Yeah.
What?
And the other times it
What
does
did they
sting.
put in it that doesn't sing? No more tears.
I have no idea.
Well, no, sting-
However they make it.
Stage blood stings like a motherfucker.
Yeah, there are
It's-
some, it stings so bad, and you're like, just coke up.
You know
It's
why
my
stage blood
eyes.
stings is the stuff that's in it, and like is in the stuff you buy for theatre blood.
Yeah.
Photo flow. It was used for cleaning film in the
There's something.
1970s.
Oh wow.
It's-
Yeah, there's a small a small percentage of that in it to give it the very liquidy consistency. But you're like, that's like semi-toxic, bro.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's
So
not
any
good.
blood makers out there,
Yeah, so
think about the eyes.
don't use photo flow. Don't use stage blood.
It's like I only use natural, organic, homeopathic blood.
Please.
It's,
I only use
As
blood
organic as
from,
possible.
from the purest vegans.
I killed 10 carrots to get this lot of blood.
I want to talk a little bit about my first time ever meeting and working with Fiach as well, because I obviously, as I say, we well actually we'll go into a little bit more as well about your first Badger experience.
Yeah, that was good.
But
And I won't be here again.
it was Iris.
Yeah.
Which wasn't I to this day I absolutely adore it. Like,
I love
it's-
Iris.
It actually is great, isn't it?
Every time
Yeah.
I watch it, I'm like, Jesus, I cannot believe we did that in 48 hours.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I mean, you and Brian's chemistry, Lisa's performance, everything about it was absolutely. I love it. But I just remember that I'd never met you. I only know you through Barry Talking and Blue Dawn stuff and everything. I think I maybe bumped into you once with him. I don't know if that even had happened.
No, I don't
I don't think so, no.
But it was literally like, I remember when you were like, you're gonna have this script written like how long, and you went into the other room to watch
Yeah.
the Don't short.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then sat
yeah.
down, and I was like writing, and I literally came out like an hour later. I was like, I got the script, and you were like, what? You legit were just like double checking, you were like, what? And I was like, I have the script, and you were like, you read it, and you were like, you were like, it's actually good, man. Like,
Yeah.
But no, but like,
Because you
that's
completely
insane.
undersold it. It was like, well, I have an outline. It's like it's a good concept. Have a read and see what needs to be changed. And everyone was like, this is really good.
Yeah,
And it was just, I had done this very tactical thing of like, I have a basic idea of something that I can adapt to drama or comedy or horror or whatever, but the core idea of it is fun. And then that very luckily, we got the team buddy.
I'll never forget your reaction when, because you were like, I have this basic outline of like, Lisa's home alone and Brian shows up and then you don't know, it's like if we got a horror, you could make
It was the
that this-
guest, man. It was just a guest.
Yeah,
even.
and then it was like, but if it's comedy, it could be like that they know each other or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I came out and I was like, so it's not just a genre. We got like
But-
a genre, a line of dialogue. We got like an occupation, a character name, and we had to fit all these in. And your face just went down.
Mine was just it wasn't like occupation and all that is like so easy to fit in my
Yeah.
opinion, but it was when he said body film.
Yeah, and then it was like, it's a buddy film, and he was like, oh no, it was like, we can't use any of the ideas that I had. And then I was like, but what if they're two blind spies. And Lisa is the occupation, and they know each other, but they pretend they don't.
Yeah.
And then you were like, I've got it.
I went
like,
back into the room.
Yeah.
It's just like I just grabbed like whatever I was there, just took back in, and came back out like another 25
man, that was
minutes.
insane. That was great. That was fun as
It
well.
was so
like, it
much
also
fun.
shows like what you can actually do when you're really up against the
Yeah.
cloud, like
Yeah.
what adrenaline will do to like the
And
creative users.
you will like
true.
the chemistry between the three of you was so good. It really was.
Well, man, Brian, that was so fun working with Brian. Like he's just got a natural.
Yeah,
he's
very much
just
so.
a natural. He's a funny dude anyway. And
But his
he
ad-lib,
thinks quite quickly.
his ad-lib stuff, like that one line with Lisa. I can't even thinking about it makes me laugh so hard because none of us expected it at all. Just Brian going like, huh, pretty funny for a woman. And we just were like, oh my god, did he actually say that?
And if you're saying that to Lisa, she's gonna fucking react.
Lisa's reaction, she was like, oh. And you were such a taking it because you were like, just go in and watch your little Netflix program.
Yeah.
It was so condescending, but it was so funny.
Yeah, it was.
I really wish we'd gotten to shoot the alt ending or the additional ending where Lisa goes up to her car and your bride has said about the car bomb thing, and Lisa goes to her car and like presses the key, and then like you hear an explosion off camera, and he's like, "Oh, that's your car." Brian just walks by like, "That's your car." Oh, sorry. Just walks off like because he's blind and doesn't know what's going on. Like, I had a feature concept for Iris at one point called Two Blind Spies.
Judd had actually asked about it as well.
I had sent the outline to Judd ages back for Two Blind Spies.
Two plants.
But that was my first time working with you, and something, as I say, we love working with different people and all the rest of it, but something I've become very serious about in the last 6 months more than anything, I guess, is there's people I love working with, but I try not to just go, I'm trying to get out of the habit of writing a role and going, oh, that's Fiach, or that's Jess, or that's Brian Regan, or that's Tubbs. I just try to write it, and then if I'm like looking at it and I'm like, we have a much stronger casting process with Courtney and everything now, but B, it's like, it's only if it really, if I'm like, no, that person is that character, like not because I wrote them as it, just because they are, like, and that was very much so the case with Mersey Boys. I mean, I've been talking to you about Mersey. That's probably how we first connected.
I think it was. I don't think it was Intervention.
No, it
That's
wasn't.
what I was trying to think.
December, so it was like
it was
summer
before
last year,
that,
I remember it was before we had become friends online that you were like, so I think it was like, Mark has this girl from Rats. It was like, I was thinking about Mersey Boys. I think she could play Ginny. I think she could be great. I was like, okay. I was like, I have no idea.
Because Mark had sent me a screener and I couldn't send it to you because
I hadn't seen it. So I was like, yeah. It's like, if you think she's good for the role, then cool. And that was a long time ago.
And then I was like, I'm sorry, we can't cast your Mersey Boys because you have braces.
I had braces put on in the April. And then, like, so you must have mentioned it just before April.
No, it was because you had braces on. I think when I mentioned it, and I said when it came
I
off.
did.
So I think it was like June, July.
Yeah, okay, that probably works. So I'd had them on a few months, and then I was like, well, these are on for at least a year.
Yeah, and I was like,
I said, but they're ceramic though, not the metal ones. Can we? No, that's not very 60s, is it?
Yeah, they're even more modern braces.
Okay, when did they come off?
This April.
Okay.
So, and it just got pushed back, didn't it?
It was very much that, like,
other stuff.
Steve really wanted to do it as a feature, and I kept trying to explain to him the difficulties attached to that.
Yeah.
So then it was my pitch to him. I said, well, look, let me write a short proof of concept piece, because that's the only way we're going to possibly get funding for a feature is if we have something to actually show. And then straight away, that was like kind of June, July of this year, and I knew you had your braces off. We'd worked in an intervention, so I was like, remember that thing we talked about last year?
Yes, I do.
And then you were like, I get to dye my hair red.
Yeah. Oh, it's great.
And then it's funny because I had always kind of, I had a couple of people in mind for the Al Moran character, Al Moran. And I had a couple of people in mind, and then some people that I had in mind I didn't want to particularly work with again at this time, and other people the more you had said Fiach's got a place in Wicklow, right? You weren't, I'm not even gonna lie here, you weren't like on my radar at that point for the Elmore character per se. You were like, I was like, oh, Fiach could be cool, but I'm gonna say the truth.
When you talked about the barn
What did I tell you though about when I first thought about casting Fiach? you come on, it's worth talking honestly here. I went, he's too handsome for the part.
Yes.
He's not nerdy enough, he's not geeky enough.
It's like, yeah, he is a bit of a. It did feel. No, not fucking. But like, it was a weird.
Yeah.
Stiff. He was a stiff enough.
He's a bit of a stiff guy. So, but I was like, I'm not sure. And then you had said, Fiach is this part. So I checked into it. And then I just said to you, could you send me a voice clip of you doing like a US accent or whatever? And then you had, at this point, you see, when you sent down your headshot and stuff, you had the beard and stuff. And I was like,
Could kind
I
of
think
work.
we could kind of turn him into a nerd.
Yeah.
It looks great as well.
Yeah.
You look great.
With the glasses and
Yeah.
the
jacket.
physicality that you had.
Yeah.
Stiffness in your
And the
performance is
The
actually
fact that you look so different from the Beatles as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that really helps.
Yeah.
You've got the kind
It's
of
kinda
cool
like
guys, the
you're wearing like a black
leathers.
dress, and you know you're
Yeah.
quite stylish, 60s era, and the boys are quite stylish. And then you are a professor.
Yeah.
You look like a professor.
He looks like he's just come over from America and just landed in the middle of
Somebody
Liverpool.
said
Like,
to me
where am
yesterday,
I?
Who said they said like Fiach really like seems like a naive American.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, then he's doing
He's
fucking
doing
great
it.
job.
That is exactly how it came across.
But yeah, it was very much so that when you did that, and then I was like, I think maybe he could. And so then I was like, do you want to do this?
Yeah.
I remember, you were like, when I was messaging you about the bar and stuff like that originally and finding out if it was cool to use it as a location, you're like, yeah, no problem. I was like, what are you shooting? I was like, oh, we're shooting this kind of like Beatles biopic. And you're like, oh, cool. I was like, what's that like? And then I said that to you and you were like, what's his American accent like? And I said that to you and you were like, I'd be pretty confident. I was like, can you do a Chicago accent? And he was like, yeah.
Yeah, why not?
I'd be pretty
I think he
confident.
stuck it. I think he stuck it.
Yeah,
wall.
yeah,
the wall,
absolutely.
And
Without a doubt.
yeah. So then you said that he had sent you on the voice tape, and you were like, "Oh yeah, I want to be." I was like,
But yeah, so and then Jess, as I say, that was our first experience together. Was Iris. We did Legacy Point, where you came down for a day to Limerick and get out to Tubbs. It was my favourite. Getting to watch you just sit there giving out to Tubbs was a beautiful experience. But and then Jess, as we say, I sent you we talked to Mersey Boys and stuff. Nothing really came from that.
No.
And then December, I sent you the script. Early January, late December, early January, I sent you the script for Intervention, and I was breaking it.
I don't know why.
Because I didn't. It's so funny because my fear was that you were getting a lot of.
That's my stomach.
"Oh,
That's
Lord."
quite alright.
It's hungry, clearly.
More. Just
Sorry about that.
Just
We
talk
need
about
toast
intervention.
No, but I just didn't know. I didn't know how it would land with you.
Really?
yeah.
I'm surprised at that.
Did I even say to you? Did I say it was that character, or did I just send you the script? I can't remember if I went like, I want you to play Morgan, or did I just say like, was there?
I think you
thought
sort of
in
said
your
there's
head?
this script that I've wrote and I've got it in mind for this character.
Okay, yeah.
It's the Morgan, do you want to read it? And that's kind of how it went. And I read it and it was just like, yeah, is that mine? Because I really want to do that. And you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad you said
Yeah,
that.
it was terrifying. It really was. It was almost like
Because-
the first time I ever asked Nick to be in Retribution. I was like, because I know exactly what it was now. I know exactly what it was. It was the same with Nick with Retribution. I was like, if they say no, I have no
Oh, okay.
backup. I have no, because I can't picture anybody else like in my head at this point. I've put it so.
No, I absolutely loved it. But then I feel like your writing was amazing on that script because it just jumped off the page. Like I didn't have to. You get some scripts where you really have to reread over it to actually get what they're trying to achieve or say. And I literally could skim read that script and it just leapt out off the page, which it was so easy for me to say yes to. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's amazing.
It really did. And like that conversation, do you remember that conversation that we had when we were going to talk about her movements? And I just messaged you saying, so I've thought about the character and I sort of think that she needs to almost float.
Oh my God, we were both
Because she sort of floats around the room rather than what you were like, I can't believe you fucking said that. And I said, but that's your writing.
But it was
because
legitimately-
nowhere in that script did it mention anything about her movement.
We were just having a conversation. When Jess sent me that message, me and you were literally sitting in the cave.
I remember it,
talking, and I was like, you were like, so like, we'll put in the sound of, or whoever it was like, we'll put in sounds of her footsteps. She moves, and I was like, she doesn't walk though. She floats, like she's not.
Yeah.
She's ethereal. She's not there. And then literally, you pinged me, and you're like, I think she should just float. I was like.
That's cool.
It literally leapt off the bat, and there was no mention of that.
Yeah.
There was no description of movement in the script.
How did you just do the floating?
It was just all Jess's movement.
It was just about movement and
The dance coming in there.
Yeah,
probably,
I think so.
Coming
yeah.
full circle.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I just know. I mean, even when we got to, I mean, without any spoilers for Intervention per se, but just there's a moment with you and Samantha Elliott Brody where she's almost mimicking your movements, and that scene has a very dense, like choreographed feel to it. Not over choreographed, but just like I don't know. There's a.
Yeah.
It's a film I'm very, very, very proud of, and I think that's down to all of you guys though, because like I can be proud of a script, I can read it and say I'm happy with this script, but that's just a script.
but not necessarily. I think, like for my characters, the Morrigan, I think you get the wrong tone if you write it in a certain way. You set the tone of how that character was going to be, and I got it immediately. So that's why you ended up with what you ended up with on screen.
I'm like.
Because it
I don't do compliments
it
at all.
leapt off the page. Like, I think you would have ended up with a different Morrigan had that have been written a different way.
And it's weird because that was very much something I was
So-
very passionate about, because I'm really into Irish mythology and Celtic mythology and stuff. And when I was a kid, I read this book, Hounds of the Morrigan, by Morgan Llewellyn, this Welsh writer who wrote Celtic stories about Ireland. And I was obsessed with this character, the Morrigan. I was like, she's so fucking badass, and she's like the Queen of Death and the Goddess of Crows. Like, this is like some Star Wars level
Funky
shit,
chick.
man. Like, this is epic.
I just love that you say Star Wars every time. I'm like the biggest.
She is.
There needs to be a female Sith Lord. Can we just?
I
It
feel
makes
like
me so
Morrigan was
mad.
legit. I feel like we should just superimpose in just the
Please. I want a black saber.
Ooh. But is that a Sith then?
No, I don't give a
the
shit.
darkest level
I'm
Sith.
writing as going on.
It's the darkest level Sith.
It is the darkest level of.
I will put this out there. If you write a Star Wars fan film,
don't.
I will fucking shoot the fuck out
Oh
of you.
no way! Right, this is happening.
Well, there does need to be a female Sith
That
Lord.
fucking does, and it
It's
really.
pretty fucking ridiculous.
I have written it everywhere, in every which way, and I mean, it has to happen.
Just fight
And if it's
someone
not
for
me,
it.
I'll be really mad.
Just fight Lucas. Just be like George, I'm gonna punch the beard out.
I like it. If it doesn't happen, I'm gonna be mad, and if it's not me, I'm gonna be worse.
So I'm guessing Star Wars had quite an influence on you.
Fucking massive, yeah. Without a doubt.
Did you have that as well? Though? Was it? I know you said Braveheart.
Star
That
Wars?
was, well, yeah, but like was there any kind of? Was it because Braveheart? It's just interesting because like Star Wars is very high fantasy. It is. It's fantasy in space.
Yeah.
Like, and then Braveheart is very grounded realism. It's like
Yeah.
it's not. It's still kind of fantastical.
Yeah,
It's that warrior
Yeah.
not mythology because it really
Like
happened. but,
knights and
yeah.
that sort of thing.
But just wondering, like, were you more into that realism or more? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think now that like that definitely is informing my
Choices.
Yeah, not only acting choice, but yeah, what type of stuff I'm doing, and that's not like it's obviously
You'd still
sort of
do
a
Star Wars, is
subconscious
what you're
thing,
saying.
but like sci-fi horror, a lot of like genre films. It's not really my bag. Like,
Yeah.
but that's just because
I think that's where we differ slightly.
yeah.
Because for me, like, I always gravitated towards the dark character. I did. I mean, I was 9. How old was I when episode 1 came out? 8. Darth Maul was it for
1999.
me.
Yeah, it came out in 1999.
I would have been 8, 9 years old.
Yeah.
And he was the guy. I did not give a shit about Queen Amidala. I
But-
did not give a shit about. I wanted to be him. I had the lightsaber, the backpack, the figurines, the
Yeah.
stickers,
Luckily, you-
everything.
That was you and everybody
that-
who saw episode 1 didn't give a shit about anything except her.
I just did not care.
Yeah.
Like,
Nice.
he was it for me, and I gravitated to that character, and I did with everything that I watched. When I think about now, like, all the things I liked, quite dark.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And can I ask then, like, how did you feel about Breaking Bad? Because for a lot of people, that was their first experience of like, oh, I'm on the villain's side. What is happening here?
Yeah.
So as a person who always gravitated towards the villains,
Yeah, always.
how did you feel about Breaking Bad? Was that just kind of like immediately like?
It was immediate love,
Yeah.
I think. And I don't know why. I think they're just unsung heroes. I think now writing's come another way around. People are trying to explore that a little bit more.
I say it with Retribution, with everything. I don't
There's so
do
much story
black
to
and white.
tell.
I
Yeah.
don't do black and white. I don't like the good and the bad. I don't like it. I like there is the grey, the middle
Absolutely,
ground.
yeah.
And every bad guy,
Has
I'm sure you've
a
heard
bit
this
of good.
like, as actors and stuff.
Well, completely,
If you're
yeah.
the bad guy, you never go, well, I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like you're like,
Yeah.
mustache.
I have all my reasoning,
Yeah.
all my rationale.
Absolutely.
I know what
Yeah.
I'm doing, what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I believe
Well,
wholeheartedly.
Hitler believed he was
Exactly.
justified.
Yeah.
You know?
And you can never play. It's Gary Oldman that actually said it. He was like, "You never play a villain as a villain.
No.
You
Yeah.
play a villain as the hero in his
Yeah.
mind. I'm doing what's right."
The villain
Actually-
is always the hero of their own
Yeah.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And I should clarify as well that when I say that, not necessarily sci-fi or horror, but I have a definite tendency for the darker side within
Of-
the within
the
drama.
drama.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Would that include
Yeah.
like crime films and stuff, or just like more?
I
I
theatre,
think
like Shakespearean
sometimes
stuff
they're
and things like that.
written more interestingly as well.
Well, 100%. Well, it's the you get to explore
Another element
or you
of-
get to
of
express
human
parts of yourself.
being.
Like say with like for myself, like anger is definitely something
Yeah.
which it
interesting
exists
too.
quite
Like
a bit
it's
inside
suppressed
me.
so much, isn't
Yeah.
it? And I think it gives you that outlet to
Get to
actually
have an
explore
outlet,
that
yeah.
dark element of yourself.
Absolutely.
Anger's a fascinating one, and violence is a fascinating one because
Violence is my favorite to explore.
it's so suppressed and
Yeah.
like it's just not something you discuss. But we all have,
Yeah.
we all have that ability.
And when you look at like it's an interesting one. I was studying in Bow Street in the Screen Acting Academy there 2 years ago, and we did this. It was a character module where like you work on a character for like 6 months and you do like a biog for them and come up with just kind of work on them consistently. And I did like a big like 15-page bio or whatever, and it was very like when I was writing it, I was like, oh, this character is like very far away from who I am, and that's why I'm doing it. And then I remember the guy who was conducting the module, Shimmy Marcus, he was like, there's definitely going to be a lot of elements of all of you in this, and it's actually going to be a great learning curve to see where your subconscious tendencies
where it
lie.
goes,
yeah.
And it was only when afterwards, after I finished Bow Street, and I did like a lot of self-exploration the last like 2 years, did like a bit of therapy and other stuff just to know more about the self. And I was like, holy shit, so much of the stuff that I actually put into that biog was
what was
he was
in here.
it was in there, yeah. And I was like, oh, this isn't me, but actually no, it is.
Yeah.
And that's why by exploring these characters where we are exploring a part of ourselves, and therefore we're more drawn to
I think it's exciting to sort of explore that side of yourself, without a doubt, through character or whatever. Right, I
Like,
think it's really exciting.
Getting to see you be the Morrigan was that like I was like.
Yeah, that's
just
why I
you
said it's what I
completely carried
wanted.
yourself like the second you weren't kind of it was amazing though because you had Converse on.
Yeah,
It was like I'd be like oh my gosh,
These,
this is so
actually.
I was like, yes,
the official Morrigan shoes.
I'd just be like,
Plug.
Jess looks so
Sponsored by
scared.
Chuck
She's so,
Taylor.
and then I looked down and I'm like, but she's in Converse.
Yeah.
What time are you running at?
We are at 1:43.
Wow.
Okay,
So
it's time for everyone's favorite part of Banter for the 3.5 people that listen to us.
Tubbs doesn't listen. He doesn't have the pitch.
Oh god, we gotta get a lead
Yeah.
on some description. So now it's time for everyone's favorite part of Badger Banter. Random things!
Yeah, where that was going was
Yeah,
terrified.
it's pretty random, right? It's pretty random.
It's pretty random.
It's random in the fact that we never do the same thing ever.
Mine's a recorder.
Dirty bastard.
What? Hey, why?
Because he found it.
Yeah. It's the definition of a random thing.
He literally walked around Fiach's house and found a recorder.
And
I'm surprised that out of all the random things in Fiach's house, you went
That's
for a
what you-
That's the
recorder.
tamest.
Yeah.
oh no, definitely. But that's because it's random.
Can you play the recorder?
Yeah.
Can you play half cross buns?
Yeah.
What was that?
That's for all you audio listeners.
That's for all you snakes out there. He's trying to charm you.
Yeah, it's I'm quite good at the old recorder, you know. Was considered the best in second class. 276 years ago.
Nice.
So
In a former
I found
life.
a recorder in Fiach's house, and now it's mine. That's how this works.
Random things. Okay, Fiach, what's your random thing?
My random thing, I think you actually like this. It's kind of fits into your gore.
Ooh, I like
Oh.
things.
This ring.
That is kind of
Well,
random.
Yeah.
I like it though.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, right?
What is that? Is
So I was using this in King Lear. I was doing playing King
Cool.
Lear for the last month, and my character is a bit of a. Or we made him sort of like sadomasochist. So there's like a torture scene, and I gouged someone's eye out. So the first thing I
Did you
thought
use
of
this on
was
stage?
yeah. Oh yeah, like that was the sort of main.
and
That was one
you
of the
actually
first
gouging
things I-
someone's eyes out?
Yeah, well, yeah, but you didn't.
That's
yeah.
what this red stuff is.
So
pretty
yeah, but that was one of the first
scary.
things. As soon as like I started like trying to
I think it kind of suits
come
me.
up with ideas for the
I like
character,
this.
Mine
I was like, oh yeah, he needs a ring. He needs some sort of ring with a point
Well,
on it.
that was
so.
the point, wasn't it? We
Yeah.
get to keep each
Yeah.
other's eyes shut.
So that's your recorder now. And Jess gets
yay.
to keep the ring.
I don't know about bringing out my random thing anymore. I think I'd be killed if it vanished.
It's funny though, because when I was like a young gat, because I was like one of those weirdo gats in Limerick that hung around outside. Like we had like everyone hung out in their like black leather trench coats. Apparently, me and Fashion would have got. If me and Fashion had met earlier, we would have gotten along really well. I imagine
Yeah.
because we were both proper gats. She had the whole white face
badass,
paint,
isn't
It only
spider
fits on
web.
my baby finger.
It's kind of scarier on the baby
Massive
finger.
hand.
It's like tickling, isn't it? Yeah. Creepy,
But,
though, isn't it?
It's really
I used to
creepy
wear
and
those kind of
sinister.
rings, and it was really until.
The
Oh
Tigers, they're back.
no! What?
We still have 15 minutes.
Tell the president we'll be out soon. Yeah, it was just about the president of France.
Yeah. He knows we're on the way because we're still travelling south of Belfast.
Yeah, we're on a boat right now. Oh no, close that. Oh wow. I used to wear those type of rings, but when I was a 16-year-old goth young fella, it just looked ridiculous. And Nate wears rings like that and can pull them off.
Yeah.
Naturally, whereas if I do it, I look like a fucking plank. So that's your random thing.
That's my random thing.
It's very cool.
Me?
Yes.
It's interesting you chose to put those pigs out.
Oh no way! What?
I have a pig,
Oh.
No way.
and I carry this everywhere I go.
Is he from Monopoly?
No, he's heavy though, right?
Fucking heavy.
So
What is he?
Is it
it's
a
a pig.
Yeah.
It's a lucky pig, and basically, my mother-in-law bought it me to put in my purse, and it's supposed to bring good fortune.
I really like that.
Okay.
That's,
Really
I
that's
still
one
have
of our
no
coolest
money,
Random things.
But
It's a heavy little pig
it's
as well.
really
isn't it?
fucking
Like,
heavy in your
seemingly
purse, though.
heavy.
That's the only problem. And I was
Yeah.
worried because when I went through customs, I thought, is it going to
pause
be
and go off? Yeah, for the little bit.
for the little?
And
I
then-
said, they can't take my pig.
It's
Like,
like,
put it in the train.
Yeah.
miss. No.
No.
if it beeps, you have to have that awkward moment of like, oh, don't worry, that's just my pig.
So, and it just made me laugh that you had the pigs out.
Yeah,
It's
that's very
alright.
apt, actually, isn't it?
That's I think that's one of our coolest random things.
There you go.
To date. It's very cool.
It's kind of random.
He's
Why it's a
cute.
pig, I don't know. I didn't ask that
Are
part.
pigs just lucky? Is that a thing?
Like why it couldn't be a cat
No,
or a
you're like,
dog.
oh man,
I don't know why it has
pigs
to be a
get
pig.
slaughtered. They ain't
Oh.
lucky.
Sponsored by moonpig.com.
Yeah, I literally have no idea why it's a pig. But
Are
there we go.
badgers
How
lucky?
long have you had it?
A year,
Yeah.
Can you
last
play the
Christmas,
recorder?
I think.
Kenny play the recorder.
Possibly better than you.
Oh, I would say you could definitely play
No
it. Look,
dispute there.
already that is infinitely better than me.
And Baz, do you have a random?
I have a random thing. We kind of talked about it last night, but it is.
Oh yes,
Oh yeah.
it's not that random.
My girlfriend's camera. It is random.
No, because we know about it.
Yeah, I know you guys know about it.
So that's
The studio audience
You
does
broke
not.
the rules of random things.
I did break the rule. We talked about it yesterday, but it is a vintage Leica M3 that
I'm jealous.
Vashin's grandfather had.
Show the cool thing with the
Cool.
lens. That's my
That's really
favorite thing. My favorite story to do with it.
Yeah,
Retro,
so
isn't it?
we looked up the serial number and stuff the other day, and we were able to pinpoint that it was bought in 1957 and stuff like that, and that was
Like,
around
best.
that was around the time that they had originally moved to the UK and stuff like that. So that was really cool. But yeah, one of the cool things that we like about it is because most cameras these days have like a mirror viewfinder, so you can actually look out the lens that you're looking at. But they didn't have that here, so the viewfinder, they actually made a lens that has an attachment for the viewfinder to mimic what the lens actually sees.
Okay.
So it technically has this lens here, and then this one, so you can...
For this camera? Just so we can get a good old gawp at it.
Gawp. We like a good gawp.
We do indeed, bud. Is wicked.
That's
I think
cool.
that's super cool.
So, like, they basically engineered it in such a way that when you look through the viewfinder here, this section here mimics what
What's
this lens
That
sees.
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 Okay,
That's so.
okay.
So
Without a
even-
mirror.
Without a mirror.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah.
every time they changed the lens, they had a different attachment to put on here to mimic the same lens. And stuff.
Right.
And how did V's grandfather end up with the camera?
He bought it.
Well, no, just as in,
He bought it from his shop.
V's grandfather is actually in the history books in India.
that's what I was getting at. I was like, I want him to tell this story, but how do I lead into?
You see, the thing is, I'm probably going to do it a horrendous injustice by not knowing the full story.
If you want to
But,
just play recorder instead.
But he was one of the first people to
Please don't.
bring trade unions over to India. Like,
Okay.
they didn't have trade unions and stuff like that over there, so he brought like that idea and was like
So
he worked a
seriously?
lot with the British embassy and stuff like that. So like they actually teach in history about the time he brought.
Wow, interesting, dude. Yeah, okay.
Vashon will tell that story far better than I ever will.
Yeah.
That's the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
but,
good, though.
We'll be getting her back on at some point again.
Yeah,
She'll be a
so-
repeat guest, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, he was like regularly like a common guest of like the British Parliament or the Indian Parliament and the British Parliament.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Wowza.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
And he had a good taste of cameras as
He
well.
had a fantastic case in camera. When we were looking it up, we thought it was like originally a Leica M9, which was really rare. It's like 5,500 if you can find one now.
Can you get an more
Crazy
sense for
money.
it?
No, I don't think so. But yeah, so the M3 was really popular because it's regarded as one of the best film cameras that's ever been made.
Oh,
It's
wow.
35 mil, right?
It's 35mm, yeah, and they have this cool thing like
Film loader.
yeah, when you take a photo here, you'll see that has like a counter, so you can tell.
Yeah.
But so when I wind it up again, it'll move on to the next one. But it was one of the first cameras that had an automatic
Auto-wind.
reset.
Yeah.
So when they pop out the little roll that holds the film, this automatically resets back to zero.
Okay.
So you didn't have to rewind
Yeah.
it to make sure that it was on zero.
Right.
Cool.
Which is really cool. And it actually has a flash sync for
Yeah.
the shutter speed. So if you had a flash, it tells you this is the setting it needs to be at so that you get the best photo. It's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah.
Really cool.
It's,
Yeah,
And
it's
Leica
awesome.
are still going strong. They're
still going strong.
They
Yeah.
they did all the lenses for the Huawei P9 and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They've become like a really pinnacle phone camera lens.
Oh, okay.
Guys. Yeah.
They moved a lot into manufacturing lenses
Yeah.
rather than cameras after a while because they had such success with like the M3. They were this
Yeah.
huge brand, and then they kind of like they dialed back a lot from making the different cameras and focused on making lenses and adapters and stuff like that. So
Which talking about lenses makes me sad. I want our Lomos back.
I want our anamorphics back.
Yeah, our low monomorphic lenses are they're not.
I was just gonna say they're not.
They're,
ours.
well, it's
we're claiming them as
it's an
ours.
interesting situation. Let's be fair about it.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
Oh, interesting is
our co-shared Lomo lenses with Judd.
I love you, Judd.
We love you, Judd, so much. Are currently in Canada being used by a TV and film company.
Yeah.
Cool.
Since when did we drop them to Dublin? June.
Yeah, mid-June.
June. And they're due back the end of October, and I'm like, it's now the end of October. Where's our lenses?
Yeah.
They're the ones
Yeah.
who used an intervention. They're
Yeah.
so that concludes another episode, another episode of Random Things.
I was going for Badger Banter.
No, we're not finished yet. We
I
got
know,
10
that's
minutes.
why I got really confused. I was like, wow, it's like you're throwing that out there. Yeah, that's the end of Random Things.
Random
Random
Things.
Things.
We need a soundboard. We need to get a soundboard.
Oh man, a soundboard makes it so Just hit the button.
Soundboard's good.
I can't get out, like they're just so hideous, those pigs. Sorry, you're kind of I'm not very used to them now at this stage. But
It's normalised this.
it has
normalised.
normalised.
It has
It's desensitized us to pig
Definitely.
fucking. Sorry.
It's really random.
I just felt like that was going to a very David Cameron place. So we're winding down now. We're coming up to the last minutes, and it's always hard because it does fly by.
It really does.
Yeah.
So quickly, I think I want to open the floor to you guys and just kind of talk. If you guys, what
What are you working on?
do you want to say? Yeah, what are you working on, guys?
We can't
What's your
ask,
process? What are you wearing?
we can't ask any of the badgers. It's like, so what are you working on? What are your upcoming projects? It's like, we know them all.
Because we're working on them too.
But, but with you guys, we can
I
genuinely
mean, even
ask.
stuff that you got coming out and all. Yeah, just
Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I've got a few things going on. Obviously we've got Intervention, which is you guys. So I won't plug into that too much.
because it's amazing.
Yeah, look at it now.
There's no need because it's
No
so
need.
damn good.
It's that good. But yeah, we've got 6 Hot Chicks in a Warehouse, which is now on the festival circuit as of Thursday.
Can I just say, that is one of the best titles ever.
That's been said a few times, I must admit. Yeah.
It's just one of those
People
ones that
love
it's
it.
like, I know exactly what I'm getting here.
Well,
And it kind of
Six
rolls
Hot
off
Chicks,
the
like-
tongue as
Well,
well.
I don't know. I haven't seen it, but I have a feeling that it is what it says in the tin. But I have a feeling that it's also a subversive title. Like it's
Yeah.
not. It's kind of a misdirect to some extent.
Yeah.
I
Like,
don't know. I feel like
I mean, I know
so
when
on the
he was
nose.
writing it, I mean, as I said before, he's a drama writer primarily, and he wanted to do this horror film. So, I mean, he equates it to running down the street naked, screaming, and that kind of is what he wanted to do. He wanted a grabbing title, and that's what he did, and that's what we've got. So, and I like it now. I find it endearing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure people will just think, why
But
would you think that? But I do.
it is legitimately those 70s exploitation films.
Yeah.
They were called Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS.
Yeah.
Like it was just.
It's just insane. And I love it. I love the title, but you know, I'll be honest, I do think if we get distribution,
It'll probably be
depending on territories, it will be changed.
Territories are always going to
And
change.
that-
'Cause
and
it might not
that's
translate
fine.
properly.
But
so.
to me, it will always be 6 Hot Chicks.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it with another
I
title.
like that for you. It's an abbreviation. It's 6 Hot Chicks.
Yeah.
It's not 6 Hot Chicks in the warehouse.
Yeah.
It's 6 Hot Chicks.
I just can't. That is the film. But then I've been signed on since 2014 for that film, so it's been a long road.
Yeah.
And you produced that.
Co-produced.
You were costumed.
I costumed, costume designed, which was probably my favourite role.
Which
of
we
everything
discussed when
I
you were
did.
like, I want to do my costume for Mersey Boys. I quite like that stuff.
Yeah, I know, I really do. Like, it's definitely something that I've
Get you back
found.
over. Get you back over for the parish to do costume department.
Yeah, I would love to.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely love to.
Confirmed exclusively on podcast.
Woo! No, I'd love
Happening,
to.
peeps. It's happening.
It's definitely an area that I've explored that I really, really, really enjoy.
Costume for Mersey Boys is killer.
Thank you.
It was very cool. Very cool.
Thank you.
It was amazing. As
yeah,
soon as you
I
sent
like-
me the pic, I was like, yes, this
I
is
like
that's
the
Jamie Brown.
search. I think that's what it is. I like the search.
But
and how to
Kathy loves
do-
it as well.
Yeah.
She does. I mean, I'm trying to think of, I mean, with the don'ts, but even more so Retribution, she did an incredible job.
Retribution was class.
Yeah, and Beck's obviously costume design. Kathy's costume department, she'll go out and source things.
Yeah.
But Beck's costume design, she did a killer job on
Oh,
Intervention.
it's a great job in Intervention. That
But,
costume would have been nothing without Becky.
Oh, she was...
She
And it
did
was...
amazing.
I need to point out how scary it was to be saying, Jess is coming on Thursday, we're building the costume on her on Thursday, and we're shooting Friday evening.
Yeah.
It was like,
That's pressure.
what? And then literally Thursday night, coming away from Becky's, I was like, I'm so confident right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it
All
was great.
the fear is gone.
So much fun.
But yeah, so you've got 6 Hot Chicks.
Yeah, I'm also working on another short with a filmmaker who's local to me again. So it's Nottingham area, and we're going to go into rehearsals at the end of the year. It is it's not been officially announced, so I have to be a little bit
Oh, be
careful what I
careful,
say. But it is sort of a dance psychedelic horror short. He classed it as Neon Demon meets La La Land.
Once I heard that, I was like,
And yeah, so for me, like, I've always wanted to bring my dance experience in. And obviously I've been doing film for 7 years and it's never happened. So when he sort of sent it out and was like, yeah, so I have this film and we need dancers. I was like, yeah, okay.
I mean,
that's mine.
where'd you need me? Yeah, back off.
I want that bag the fuck
Who do I have to fight for this?
Yeah, who do I have to fight?
From 6 hot chicks,
Yeah.
I will kick your ass.
I will kick your ass.
Holy balls,
So I
that
was
sounds
really,
awesome.
really excited to get the email
pitch,
that I
if you
got it.
I mean, if that was a feature and he walked into the studio office in like LA and was like, so it's Neon Demon meets La La Land, I don't understand who knows. Nobody wouldn't just be like, here's money. Just sign here, here's your check.
The check doesn't have any figures in it.
Yeah,
just you put in what you think.
Yeah, just-
if I was a studio exec and I had money, I'd just lose my shit. That's all I'd need. I wouldn't need any more.
So yeah, I mean, that should be filming early spring.
Awesome.
And that's kind of it in terms of confirmed gigs.
And also
there are
ones you
other
can kind of
things I'm
speak of.
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. It's always hard.
Yeah.
So
I shouldn't even be talking about the parish. Like, it is my film and I'm doing it, but in case it never happens or something,
Yeah.
and everyone's like, what a bullshit, or he kept going on with this film. But that's because I know it's going to happen.
It's
Yeah.
gonna
Force it
happen
into
at some stage. We'll make it work.
yeah.
I need to talk to you after the podcast about the some stage.
I am talks about another feature, but that's early days. I mean, the script's not even been written yet, but I've been asked to come on board before that point.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
So, but that could be a year of sourcing
Yeah.
before we
of course.
even get to the stage. So, you know, it might be 2019 before we even think about touching that one.
Yeah. And yeah.
You
You just completed
yeah. It's been like the busiest month probably really of my life. Definitely the busiest week.
yeah.
With finishing up King Lear and then into this, which has been lovely.
And also with all the stuff with Blue Dawn happening
Yeah,
at the same time
yeah.
this month.
And the Blue Dawn premiering,
Premiering,
and
everything.
now realizing there's actually a little bit more to do until we get only a very small bit more to do in the sound mix. But yeah, so it's festival submissions with Blue Dawn and approaching the marketing side of that.
Which, if, as I said to you before, will, if you can even pop down to Limerick someday, we can just go meet at the cave or something, and I can just go through a lot of stuff with you, because you know, you were setting up press kit and stuff.
Yeah, that'd be great,
Anything I
man.
can do to
Yeah.
help, genuinely.
I appreciate
I'm
that.
saying it publicly on podcast. Anything I can do.
No,
genuinely,
great, man.
It's documented.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that for sure. Doing a short film called Rift in November. It's a breakup scene, or short film, but it's actually gone for one continuous shot as well.
Oh, nice.
Throughout its split screen, just
cool.
following the two characters.
No.
Oh shit! Is that the one that Avian is doing?
Evan?
Is it Evan? I never know how to
Evan,
pronounce it.
yeah.
I met him on the set of Doors, and he
Oh, did you?
he
I think you
explained.
spiked this for the first time ever.
What?
Oh,
No,
did-
Yeah.
he pitched that concept to me
Yeah.
because I had actually offered to help him out if he was stuck.
Okay, yeah.
With the technicalities of it,
Cool,
because he
yeah,
explained
yeah.
the concept to me of like it's going to be like two continuous
Yeah.
single shots that take place in split screen. I was like,
Oh my
It's
God.
good. It's
I
a
was
nice
like, that
concept,
is
isn't
such
it?
a great
Yeah.
idea.
It
And
really
he
is.
explained the whole thing about the breakup and how it
Yeah.
all works out. I was like,
Yeah.
Like from two completely different
Yeah.
Yeah,
places,
just fun, and you
know.
actually see the two characters together,
And
but
yeah,
their
that's
argument
awesome.
of the breakup is narrated over the
Okay,
split screen.
That's
so,
great. That's really,
so
really
that should
cool.
be cool. So we're
Yeah.
doing that.
Oh,
think
man.
it'll
I
be
just
in
got
a few days
goose
in
pimples.
November.
I know. It's,
Do you see that?
Sorry, I got so excited.
That really
Like I said, you could
excited
talk
me.
on the set of Doors, and I was like, this is awesome. I was like, and I was asking him about like how he planned on doing it and syncing it up and stuff like that, and the technicalities behind it. And I was
Because
like,
you were going like, because if you don't know anyone that can do that, I can't.
no, like I mean, I wasn't like jumping in or to be like, hey, I want to be DOP on that or whatever. But I was
No,
like,
if you
but
want doing
genuinely,
that.
it was like, if you need a hand, it was like
Yeah.
I'd be more than happy to help bring it to life because
Yeah.
it just sounds like such a great concept and
Yeah.
a great idea.
Yeah, it should be nice. No, looking forward to
It's
that
also
one.
the second part of your IFT trilogy. So you've done Lift, now you're doing Rift.
That's very true.
So
That's
I'm looking
very
forward
true.
to Sift.
Part
Sift is going to be killer. When's Sift coming out?
2020.
And then Drift is after that, right? It's when you've
I
made
won't talk
enough
about
money.
So there's that in November, and then I actually wrote my own short film back in earlier this year, and I've
Awesome.
been hemming and hawing, or just about getting it made. But I had set myself a goal of getting principal photography done, getting into production before the end of this year. It's
It's hard to know.
It's hard to know, but it's basically about a lonely taxi driver. So I'm looking for a taxi driver, taxi at the moment.
Brian O'Regan
has a taxi
sign that you can attach to any car.
Oh, really?
And it's a real one. It's not a cheap prop or anything. Like it's a real one.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's magnetic, so it'll attach to the top of any car. You don't need to
It's a Hackney cab.
Yeah.
Sign.
Very interesting. Okay. I'll have my people talk to your people.
No problems.
Good to talk, my friend.
Good to talk to you guys. So anyway, hoping to get that made throughout November, or to start getting more serious about the production side of that throughout November. Now that I have time, because King Lear was all about consuming.
Of course, yeah.
And that's my November, and then my brother's back from Canada in December, so it'll be great to catch up with him for 3 weeks, and then I'm hoping to travel to India early in the new year for 6 weeks as well. So
can you bring something and vlog that or something, or just have a GoPro on you?
That'd be well, definitely. I'd like to document.
That would distract you from actually experiencing.
No, it's nice to document these experiences.
Yeah,
for sure. I might try and get put a little video together.
It's one of those things where people. I mean, I don't want to be looking at this amazing site and be like. But at the same time, if it was just like a GoPro or something that was just catching everything naturally, that'd be cool. And then when you're resting in the evening, you can kind of reflect on it.
Exactly,
something like that.
No, they're a fun thing to do. I did part of the Camino earlier in the year with my dad, and I just I took a lot of videos along the way. And then I'm no editor, but I just stuck a very loose thing together and put some songs over it. And I was like, that's something we'll have now for the rest of the time. And there's a little memory captured.
Camino, actually? I've been saying I wanted to do it for the last 3 years. I need to do it next year.
It's great, man. I couldn't recommend it enough. I'm definitely going to go back and finish the rest of it soon. I got it.
My mother's best friend did it 2 years ago, and when she was showing me her pictures and her stuff, I was like, oh, what am I doing with my life? I need to do that.
Yeah.
That's great.
So that's pretty damn impressive, guys. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much for being amazing in the movie yesterday. Thank you guys for continuing to work with us Badgers and entertaining us.
And thank you for being Badgers full stop.
You know you're Badgers.
Yeah, pleasure, guys.
Angry Badgers.
Angry Badgers.
We still haven't found out about the honey badger that you're talking
about. It's not. It was an angry badger. No, listen now. Honestly, there was this angry badger in Fox and the Hound, and obviously I was a kid when I saw it, but honestly we YouTubed it, and he's angry as fuck. But if you look honestly, he reminds me of an 80-year-old Paddy, because he's kind of got quite sort of thick eyebrows, and he's quite grey beard.
That's bullshit.
That is Paddy at 80 when he's had enough of Celtic Badger media. He's just got to that point where he's like, I'm fucking sick of this. He's even coming out of his little badger cave. He comes out because this little fox goes in, and he's like, get out of my fucking cave. So that is you in another 50 years. So you have to go and watch Fox and the Hound Badger on YouTube, and you'll see what I mean.
Okay. Actually, quick, I need to ask you guys, with it being Halloween coming up and all, and because I'm a pussy when it comes to horror films, what's the one horror film you'd recommend me to watch?
Oh, Jesus. It's so hard for me because I'm so desensitized that I'm like, this isn't that scary, and then you'd watch it and be like, I hate you. I'm like, that was not. It also depends, right?
What kind of horror scares you?
What scares you? Because
everything.
Because gore terrifies my partner, but he can handle paranormal.
I'm the polar
I'm the
opposite. I can't.
Yeah.
The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Kill me.
I don't mind gore too much. It's more paranormal. It's more the jumpy shit. The suspense.
For me, it's the unknown, and it's I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that.
It scares.
I know. I don't like that.
The Conjuring 1.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrifying.
That's a good film. That's not a bad choice.
Conjuring 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give it a go.
Okay.
Give it a whirl.
Saw.
It's like
I see. So I like Saw.
Everyone will sit down and be like, "This was the last time Fiach ever spoke to the bad."
I'm trying to think of anything else that isn't that. I don't know.
There's so many.
Stuff's really good, but it's not really horror. Like Oculus and Hush.
I really enjoyed Oculus.
I really enjoyed Hush.
I've not seen that.
You love it, I think. If you like his stuff, if you like Oculus. Hush is about a deaf woman.
Oh yes, I've seen. I've seen the synopsis.
Okay.
Okay, that's scary.
It's It's so terrifying because
Whoa,
there's
she's
no
definitely
audio.
No, I don't like that
There's
already.
no audio
That's
in
scary as
faces.
fuck. Yeah,
So
okay, I'm
there's
gonna
this
watch
scene
that.
where it's like it's not a spoiler per se or anything, but she's like sitting on the couch
Oh no.
and you can
She
see at the
can't
door.
hear
You
him.
can see at the door that he's like smashing
No.
through it, like and trying to get through, and she's just like, and there's no score. There's no sound.
No.
So
No. I can't watch that.
apparently he
That's
did an amazing job with Gerald's Game as well, which I haven't watched yet. But
I've
he's
still not
he's a
seen
really
it.
good director, Mike Flanagan. He's also got a very Irish name. He's American, but I'm sure he's one of those Irish American
Yeah,
dudes.
yeah.
What the? What the?
And so that ends another episode of What the?
I'll go with The Conjuring because I've heard of that.
Yeah.
We'll
Go
check back
the
in a
first
couple
one.
of weeks.
Yeah, I'll give you a review on it.
It scared the shit out of me.
It did
I'm
me
pretty
too.
desensitized.
Yeah, it's
It's too
good.
soon.
Nah, watch it.
No, it'll be fine.
Commitment.
Okay, I'll commit to it.
Commit to yourself.
I'll watch it tonight.
And-
I'll watch it tonight.
Part of your growth.
Oh my god.
tie your hands
As an
down.
actor.
Tie your hands down.
Not fucking doing that anymore.
Because, as you say, you don't want to end up watching another horror through your hands.
That's like
me.
that scene in Clockwork Orange where he's like forced to watch. I won't torture
I'll
myself.
stay here again tonight. We'll put the matchsticks in.
I'll do my best.
But let's check back in with Fiach in a couple of weeks. Live
Yeah.
podcast. We'll ring him.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I'll let you know. I'll give you a little message.
So,
Sounds good.
thank you guys so much, as we say.
Thank
Much love.
you.
Best of luck with all of your future projects.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And
That's it.
concludes another episode of Badger Banter.
We didn't read out our patrons.
Can we do it now?
Yeah. No, we've already done
You have to do
our-
it. No, it's fine. We can do it a second time. It's fine. They'll have to deal with it. It's their problem. We're not going to edit it out.
Okay.
We're not being paid enough on Patreon to edit yet. So a huge shout out to our patrons, Ashling Healy. Do you do the thing?
Oh,
last
you want me
week?
to do the thing again?
Yeah.
Okay. Ashley!
Stephen McGuan,
Scooby!
Will Putt,
We'll put
Kelly Ron,
Kelly!
Jade Murphy.
Jade! I needed 2 syllables. I'm sorry.
It's okay. We'll give you 2. It's
Yeah,
fine.
okay. I should have went with Murphy. Oh. I'm such a disappointment to myself.
There's more Murphy, so it's fine.
Of course.
Nicholas Berman Vince.
The Chatterer!
Or Laith Brennan is how I have it written here.
The bear! She's just next door.
Orla. Brian Fahy.
Daddy!
Abel Garcia Cortina.
Cortina! That was the other.
It's challenging.
Yeah.
Robert Novak.
Robbie!
Your good and dear friend, Clara White.
Clara! That was more musical.
It was. What about Greg Orsi? Does he get a musical one?
Orsi's more musical.
Yeah.
Orsi!
Very
That was
really
good,
hard.
yeah. Vibrato on that.
Yeah.
It's the extra chin, you see. It's the extra chin.
Evan Murphy.
I was like, I was in 2 minds of either like belting it out and hoping for the best.
You gotta make this good. He's a musician, isn't he?
I know, yeah. You see, that was why I kind of.
Pressure.
Yeah.
It's
cool, I
going to
got
judge your
this.
performance.
Oh God, no!
Are you back and trying? Evan Murphy.
That was delicious.
Yeah, yeah.
The last one, Vashin Gill.
My missus.
Thank you guys. We say it every time, but it doesn't mean any less. Trust me when I say that, especially when we're coming up to rent day in the office. You guys are genuinely the fucking best supporters because, like, it's not like when you support somebody and they're like, yeah, let's take this and go do nothing with. I'd like spend it on shit. Like this goes towards everything we do.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to think that there are at the moment 27 people that believe in us enough to support what we're doing.
Yeah.
Look, I'm going to say it in probably the least condescending and like non-jokey way since we started, but if you do know somebody and you think they'd enjoy our stuff, please pass along. Just show them some of our shorts on YouTube and see if they want. Like, I'm not going to do my usual like just give us money thing.
Yeah. No,
But just
it
give us-
is. It's part of like an exclusive group of having exclusive access to, a direct line of communication with us for making suggestions. We will be doing our
Polls. We've
viewer
got to start
polls
doing
and
our
stuff
polls.
like that.
Yeah.
Direct questions for the podcast, which we need to start doing. We put out exclusive behind the scenes stills. We talked about that exclusive
I'll
behind
do
the
up a
scenes
list
video.
in the office of stuff that has to be done every week.
And that sort of stuff isn't going to be on Facebook either anytime soon or possibly at all. So the only way you're going to see it is to be a patron.
And thank you guys. I cannot really. If I keep going, I'll be saying thank you forever because I genuinely am like super appreciative.
Okay.
So,
Autobots roll out.
Badgers assemble.
Beatles roll out.
Mersey boys.
What the?